On today's Poker Life / DFS edition podcast, we're going to be joined by one of my favorite people in the DFS world, and debatably, who you ask depends, a legend of the DFS world. We're joined by high-stakes player CSURAM, aka Peter Jennings. What's going on, everybody? My name is Joe Ingram1, aka Chicago Joey. Joining me today on the podcast, and I know Adam Levitan has been stealing my intro game. I know he's been trying to give intros like me, but he's not going to be able to do it. So I'm going to show Adam Levitan how it's done to give an actual intro. Joining me today on the podcast is a man who does everything. This guy does everything. He's been on ESPN. He does 75 podcasts. He plays high stakes and seems like every single sport. Now he's beasting the golf streets. Plays some poker. He spoke at the Sloan Conference. This guy, I don't know what he's an entrepreneur. He's a co-founder of Fantasy Labs. I feel like this guy does a little bit of everything. And currently, right now, believe it or not, he's riding a bike, and you're going to see it in a second. We're joined by CSURAM, aka Peter Jennings, in the house. What's up, Poppy? Welcome to the podcast, man.
Dude, nice intro, and I know I look ridiculous, but I'm going to try to bike for 2 hours or whatever, however long this takes. I'm going to try to bike.
All right, so should I ride my bike too, or is it like, so why are you riding the bike right now?
So it's part of my rehab with the Achilles. I'm trying to get my legs stronger. So the bike is a huge part of that, and got a standing desk, which has been a great thing. And yeah, the biking might be hard. I might have to bail at some point, but it feels good. I was inspired by Sauce too, which is like one of my favorite ever Poker Life podcasts. When he walked the whole time, right? Yeah,
he walked for about 3.5 hours. Yes, he walked for 3.5 hours on the podcast and talked in a very normal way too.
Yeah, no, I'll be leisurely on the bike here, but it's good, man. So yeah, excited to be doing this. Pretty crazy stretch of time here with all the sports going on. So definitely, it's nice that things are kind of winding down. And obviously, we have the NBA playoffs. I know you're a big basketball fan. So who you got? You got anyone outside of the Warriors winning this thing?
In terms of basketball, man, I don't know. I mean, I got the Warriors just seem like they're going to be pretty hard to beat with Ed and Durant, assuming that they're healthy. So, and plus, I listen. The only podcasts I really listen to now are a lot of sports and basketball podcasts, and it seems like everyone out there predicts the Warriors are going to win. So, I mean, hopefully it'll be competitive. Hopefully the Bulls do something. I'm not very hopeful for the Bulls, of course. Chicago's not looking good, but yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Warriors are a huge favorite. They're a favorite versus the field right now, and I just don't see a scenario where they lose very often, but we'll see. I mean, the Spurs are a really interesting team. Houston could make like 23 threes in a game or something like that and win it that way. But yeah, they're definitely the big favorite at this point. I think the East is interesting, though. I think the Wizards could make some noise.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the basketball stuff. I'm kind of I feel like basketball, because you obviously play DFS NBA pretty much every day. I know you're playing a lot of high stakes action there. And at some point in time in the season, you just want the season to end at some point in time with this last month or two, and you just want the playoffs to get started. That's kind of how I've been feeling for these past couple of months. So with NBA, have you been excited for it to end, or has it been a good season, or how has the NBA season gone for you?
Yeah, it was a good season, but I'm excited for it to end. I mean, the basketball at the end, like, have you played any DFS NBA now? I know that's like the first thing I said to you.
I think I don't think I played very much this year. Maybe at the beginning. I think I think my most NBA play came from watching the games that you were playing in December when we were at New York at the DraftKings final. That was the last time I looked at some DFS NBA stuff was then. So yeah, that's about it.
Imagine the NFL of like it's the last week of the year and like no one's trying, right? It's like all the quarterbacks are sitting, all the receivers are sitting. So it's like you have these 6-string, 7-string receivers, backup quarterbacks, and you're trying to distinguish which one of those guys are like the best plays. And news breaks at the last minute, so it's definitely stressful. Now we're moving into like baseball season, which of all the sports requires the least amount of time. So it's nice. The summer's a good time, bud.
Yeah. So people, I mean, I think most people, do they know you live in Denver out there? And I mean, you love Denver, it seems like.
Oh yeah. Huge Colorado fanboy. I moved outside of Colorado for a year to be in Cambridge, and I just had to get back. I love it here. It's outdoors, a lot of energy. You can do everything from golf and ski. Like, my trainer today, he's golfing on Saturday and then skiing on Sunday. So I just love it here. And yeah, we have some pretty decent sports teams. It's been favorable to be here in the past for fantasy. Like going to Rockies games is super fun. So yeah, big Colorado guy.
So what's kind of your experience with playing poker in the past, or playing poker now potentially? You still play?
Yeah. What the hell's going on, buddy? I'm sitting in this game. I've played like I've played like maybe 5 sessions of poker. I played the main event. I played the DraftKings 50-50 tournament, which was literally the most tilting experience of like my entire life. And all of a sudden I'm playing cash games here in Colorado. So I played like 5 times in the last 4 years. I used to grind online like back in college, but yeah, I'm not a poker player by any stretch at this point.
Yeah, that was funny last night when you were playing, and I texted you and I said, "Hey, how's the game going?" And you're like, "Wait, how do you know I'm playing poker right now?
Fuck? How does this guy know that I'm playing poker right now?" Yeah, it's crazy. It was a pretty big game, and yeah, it's fun. I'm still shocked that you knew. Like, I was like, so one of the guys playing in the game knew like some DFS guys, and I was like, how is this all coming together here? But it's funny. The poker world and the DFS world is really connected now.
Yeah, so you haven't played much poker, but you just hop in like a 50-100 high stakes Nolan Holden game. That's kind of how rich, man. It's how it works. Huh? What's it feel like?
And the thing is, it's 50, 100, 200, like 90% of the time. So there's always a $200 straddle. So it's a pretty big game. Yeah, I mean, I normally would never jump into a game like that in Vegas. I'd obviously know I'd be getting crushed, but this is a good game. Just a bunch of buddies. I play golf with these guys. That's how I got in the game. So I play some high stakes golf with these guys, and yeah, it's a good time.
What's your golf game like then?
My golf game was pretty good, and then the Achilles injury, and that was worse last year. So I'm an 11 index now. I was like a 9 before, but I'm starting to trend better. I feel a lot healthier this year, so I'm hoping to have a good summer.
Yeah. So you tore your Achilles. Were you playing ball, or what? What'd you say? What'd you tell me you were doing?
Yeah, dude. I was playing ball. I was actually, ironically, at the Pepsi Center for a DraftKings like fantasy basketball camp. Feel like a pro, right? And I'll tell you what, bud, I got the full fucking pro experience. I got the whole thing. I got the cheerleaders, the announcer, made some layups, and a ruptured Achilles. Got the wheelchair.
Pepsi Center is the arena, the NBA arena in Denver, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, there's been didn't one of the Nuggets tear his Achilles maybe at the Pepsi Center too, or was that somewhere else?
Mario Chalmers, I remember I played him in DFS like 4 or 5 days before. He ruptured his Achilles like in the identical way, which is crazy. But it was a classic pride comes before the fall moment. I'm sure you've been there. You like to hoop a lot. This was like a soft game. There's girls on the court. There's out of shape.
Oh, bang, bang. Come on. Why they got to be soft? Because girls are in the game, kid.
Dude, come on. Like these, they couldn't dribble, man. Like it was, yeah, it was bad. You guys who were out of shape. There was a couple players, but I was feeling a little cocky. I told everyone I was going to pull a Steph Curry 3, and yeah, I pulled up for a long 3, shot it, bricked it badly, and took a step back and heard an explosion, like a literal just bang explosion. I thought like a bomb went off behind me. Put my foot down. I was like, oh, I just ruptured my Achilles.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest fears playing ball. I've only broken my finger. So, I mean, I can only say only because you've torn your Achilles. So that was terrible for me. I broke the finger. I was playing a very competitive game. I was tired. I had my hands like this. Ball bounces off the rim, hits it right here. I'm like, that is not good. My finger's like off. I'm like, what the? It was, yeah. It's not a good thing. Obviously, a ruptured Achilles, that's going to set you back a while too, because you're how old are you right now?
29, just turned 29. So yeah, I'm all right. I'm working hard, man. I'm trying to get back to like 95%, and I think that's pretty good. So
yeah, you were telling me about you obviously had some prop bets with I think Leviton and Bales had that one prop bet where they periscoped it, right?
Did you watch that mile run, by the way? That was legendary.
Yeah, those boys were like on the ground dead at the end of it. They couldn't even last.
It was ridiculous. They both had so much nervous energy because we get there for a company trip, and we've been talking about this forever, and both of them have told me like separately, like, don't tell the other one my best time is like 8:20. Bale said 8:50 was his best time. Those fuckers go out and run it in 6:20 or something like that. Like, it's incredible. Like they really they peaked for that, I think. I mean, that's pretty decent time for 2 guys doing a lot of DFS stuff throughout the winter.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because last night we were texting and you told me about this bench press prop bet you got with Adam. So if Adam Leviton,
it's so bad.
As I say, Adam Leviton. And for those people who don't know, I've had Adam Leviton on the podcast, had Jonathan Bales on the podcast. These guys all do a podcast together. You do a podcast for Fantasy Labs. You do them with Bales, and then you guys both have Fantasy Labs, and then you and Adam do a podcast for DraftKings as well too. So and then you and Adam Leviton have a bench press prop bet where he has a massive advantage here. So tell people what this bench press
so ridiculous. And like I had to guilt him in. I just wanted to do this. First of all, obviously I like to be competitive and like to do this stuff, but fitness props are like the most plus EV thing in life, like by a large margin. Like there's no cheating yourself. You know, you have to get somewhere. Like, it's helped me immensely, like be disciplined, going to the gym, eating healthy, etc. And I definitely didn't do that over the last couple of years. So it's great off the bat. But originally we set up, they ran the mile, Bales and Adam. Then we were all going to bench press versus each other. And then we were all going to do pull-ups versus each other. So then we tested. We all showed like how much we could lift together. Jonathan and Adam did, they actually went to the gym together, tested how many reps they could do of certain weights, did pull-ups. And then I got video, which was hilarious. My wife filmed me in the gym, and I just looked so ridiculous. Like I hadn't bench pressed in so long and just threw on 185, hoping I could do it. And we calibrated a bet. So versus Levitan was benching 125. I was benching 185, and Bales was benching 225. And who could ever do the most reps was going to win. Thank God, Bales ruptured or like did something to it.
Wait, thank God.
No, I mean he's fine now. He's fine now. Don't worry. But he like his bicep tendon, which goes up into your shoulder. I didn't even realize that, your bicep tendon, right? So he tweaked that really badly where he couldn't do like a push up. It's like, all right, he had to bail out of the bench press, which was a huge miracle for us because he crushed us in all the other stuff. And apparently in his peak, he could do 225 31 times. So that is, yeah, for a 180-pound guy, it's ridiculous. He can still do it like 20 now. It's preposterous. So we were drawing dead if he's live. So it's just Adam and I. I got 11 reps of 185. He got 9 reps of 125. So we're trying to calibrate the new one, and we go up based on a percentage of the overall weight. So I'm at 205, which is a huge jump from going to 185, and he's going from 125 to 135. And he also gets +1 rep. I'm basically drawing dead.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously if anyone's lifted weights out there. I'm assuming there's only men watching this today. Anyone's lifted weights know that transition to get to 125, 135 to 185. That's one of the easiest transitions. To get to 185, 205. Definitely more challenging. 205, 225, that's kind of like that ultimate thing a lot of people strive for. And then 225 to 315, which was what I always used to shoot for back in the day, man. That was like my ultimate.
You get some roids or something? Are you like one of those like massive guys trying to get to 315?
So when I was younger, Peter, I may or may not have done some experimentation when I was 19, 20, 21. I worked out so you know my like work ethic with poker and with podcasting and this stuff. That was like that with the gym.
You're all in. That's what Bales was do. Bales was all in. He could do 315 effortlessly.
He's an animal, man.
Absolutely. He's also 5'7", 5'8", short arms. I mean, it's like that guy's built the bench press, you know? He did 27 or 28 real pull-ups where he had to go all the way down, chin above the bar. Levitan and I got like 5 and 6, you know? It's just pathetic.
Well, I think he was trying to hustle me on a prep bet at some sort of weightlifting bet last time we were chatting about something. So I'm kind of glad I didn't.
You're up on him on the props. You got him on the book.
Yeah. So people know I wrote the poker book, 40,000 word book. So I made that bet, and Peter was there. Actually, it was in December when we were in New York City. We had some wine. There's a bunch of wine being consumed. I think we were all sitting around, and Bale started talking about book. I was like, I could write a fucking book. And then he's like, I'll bet you. And then Sahil said, I'll bet you. Thank God they bet me because I actually wrote a book out of that. So it was a pretty great experience there.
Yeah, dude, that was great, man. I even commented on the line. I mean, I just didn't think you had enough financial incentive, but the pride took over, huh?
Yeah, I love those extreme prop bets.
That was a nice title. Your original page with the typo in the title. That was strong.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're chasing the poker dreams. When you're writing a book for 11 days straight, and you like don't sleep. I didn't do anything else. I just talk with my wizard assistant Jonah. Shout out to Jonah's in the chat right now. We would talk. I would go write the book. I didn't do anything else. I didn't really talk to my business much. My members of my GTO club very much. I didn't do any podcasts. Didn't make any videos. That was all I did for like 11 days.
Oh, dude, that's. I can't believe you did it, man. I mean, you didn't unless you got more incentive on it. That's a pretty nice grind right there because your ROI on an hourly basis, and obviously you can sell the book as well. But much respect on that grind. I could never write a book. I'd be drawn dead.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm used to those crazy prop bets with the things I've done in the past in the poker, just like those pure endurance basically things. And with writing, I knew I could write if I got into it. So once I spend like 2-3 hours writing, I get in some zone, it just starts coming out. And before you know it, that was what happened. My head never hurt more after a 4-hour writing session in my entire life. Even like 20-hour poker sessions was nothing comparable to just writing for 4 hours and just like such a headache. It was crazy, the feeling.
Yeah, dude, I can't. I have to write a lot of emails now, and like I'll spend like 30 minutes. Like if it has to be like a well-crafted email, and I'll like start it like it doesn't sound great. Then I'm like off ADD looking at like a sports stat or like looking on FanDuel or DraftKings or reading an article. Go back to the email, try to write it. I struggle so much with writing, man. I'd much rather just chat or whatever. But a book, I mean, that's ridiculous. How many pages did that end up being? Like, what, 40,000 words?
It's like 47,000 words. I had a couple people contribute words to the book as well. So it made it a little bit easier. But yeah, it was definitely just, it was fun, man. But you said you write obviously you do a lot of emails. You do a lot of stuff now, kid. It seems like you're doing so many different things. It feels like.
Yeah, trying to diversify. And definitely want to do different things. I was all in playing DFS for a while, and I still, like, this football season, I was heads down and really focused. That was my number one priority. But definitely trying to build fantasy labs. Obviously, working on some other endeavors. Really interested in just like the investment space. Also really fascinated by like the teams themselves. So trying to diversify, meet people, relationships, and yeah.
So I called you a DFS legend on Twitter, and someone in the chat said he had one lucky win. Does that make him a DFS legend?
Please.
No, I gotta disagree with that, okay? Because I don't think I feel like you got to be a DFS legend, kid, right?
I was fortunate to win at the right times, but I won the first ever six-figure prize. I won the FanDuel Football Championship, so I have two of them. So, and then DraftKings, I mean, that was fortunate, but I've been to all these live finals. It's almost impossible to win. There's a ton of players who are just like incredible that have never won, that have been to like 25, 30 of these live events. So yeah, I'm sure that's just a troll in the chat, but I'm not saying I'm a legend, but it's hard to win those things. So
listen, Peter, you don't have to call it. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll say it, man, because when I think about a legend, let's talk about what a legend might.
Well, at the right time, I was lucky. The market was. It was like, imagine you ran hot in like 2005 in poker, right? I ran well in like the early stages of DFS. Now it's much more efficient. There's way smarter people. The game has totally changed. But for a stretch of time when it was inefficient, there weren't that many pro players. The liquidity was lower. I ran really well, and that was big in the industry.
And you're still competing now in terms of cash games and in terms of those things, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if that guy wants to come play, I have 5 and 10Ks up all the time.
Bang, bang. Yeah, I'm not a great argument for legend status, to be honest. I don't know, man. Listen, when I think about a legend, I think about longevity. I think about someone who plays the highest stakes. I think about someone who's had big scores. I think about someone who contributes to the community and to the space. And I feel like with you and with all the other stuff you're doing as well, and especially with Fantasy Labs, one of my favorite sites, I feel like that's got the recipe for success, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what long-term, like, listen, the market, DFS is it's just like poker, right? It's going to get more and more efficient. And like A.E. Jones, I know your buddy, I consider him, if not, right up there. There's a handful of guys who are the best now, right? He's definitely one of them. Like, if I was putting 100% of my energy into playing DFS, I would hope that I could be comparable to Aaron. And he even says it's only a matter of time before the bots take over, man. Like, it's just, I think that there's still game theory in DFS, and I think that there's a lot of sustainability on the tournament side. I think it's going to be really interesting. But in terms of cash games, like what I do, like, absolutely, that's going to happen. So yeah, I want to make a contribution in growing the industry. I think there's a big need for tools. Like, if we want this industry to be healthy, like, average people need to be able to come on and do something in like 20, 30 minutes, be able to compete. If that can't happen, no matter how much you love DFS and there's all these pros, like, the industry is not going to be the same. You need the recreational, the casual fan to enjoy the experience. So I think that's my next couple of years, and that's definitely what I'm focused on now the most.
So the bots are taking over DFS too. Don't tell me that, because they're in poker, no doubt about it. The bots are.
Yeah, I mean, not even like, I just like, yeah, especially like you look at a sport like baseball, it's all numbers. Like, the guys who are the best at math are going to get the best at DFS, and especially in a sport like baseball. Now, I love football. That's my, football, college football are my best sports. I still love the NBA. There's a lot more subjectivity. You have to watch a lot of these games, I think, to pick up the edges. Some of it's very subtle. A lot of it can't be picked up just in data. So I think there'll always be edges there. And the beautiful thing, too, is like with tournaments, there's so much game theory. Like, we're going to be able to solve pretty quickly, like projections, raw projections, but like figuring out how owned people are and who's going to be the leverage play, that stuff's going to be nuanced and should go on for a long time. So tournament DFS definitely has a lot of upside and sustainability. Just the cash games are going to be harder to grind out.
Yeah, it makes sense. I miss NFL. I was doing the NFL show last year.
Crushing, bro.
What do you say?
You were crushing. I remember the look in your eye. It's like when you first, it's like the feeling when you first win at something new. It's kind of fun, right?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, I think like the first week I played DFS, I used Fantasy Labs. Bale showed me how to use the site, and then had a score in a tournament, and I was like, oh man, this is easy. And then
Yeah,
obviously
no, you had the look in your eye, that classic look, man. I've seen it so many times. It's amazing.
then you get that look and you're like, huh. And then you like start putting more effort into it and you're like, wait a second, that's probably not going to happen again.
I mean, it definitely can. It's just, it's not, the same thing could happen in poker, right? Like you sit down, you just, win like 4 buy-ins or whatever, you just crush it, run well, and you're like, oh, this game's easy. It's just, then you get a couple bad beats, whatever, if games are tougher, like same kind of deal. But it's fun, man. Like, especially, I think the sweat, like that's one thing I've noticed, like even playing poker a couple times recently, is just like the sweat in DFS and just like the whole experience is 100x better. Like, I know online is awesome. Like, and if I could play a lot of tables, it'd be fun. But if you're just playing a cash game and you're folding like a large percentage of your hands, and like hands are going slow, like, yeah, you should be paying attention to a lot of things. But relative to DFS, where you make your lineup and then you're watching sports, it's pretty painful.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that I found with DFS. I just spent so much time watching the games that I wasn't doing much else. So in terms of like if I'm doing a lot of content or have a business, it's really hard to put like 7 hours, 8 hours in NBA one night watching it and then put a couple hours before that into it, so it's just like I found it challenging to balance a life and then also watch a lot of the games.
Yeah. No, that's a hard part for sure. And sweating it is like, if you hang around, I'm sure you've seen it enough now going to these events, but if you hang around enough, all these guys are checking their phone constantly. I'm one of them. You're always incentivized in some way for something to happen. So, I definitely get that feeling. And you got how many of these live finals have you been to? I saw you living the dream in Miami, man.
Oh, I didn't go to the live final in Miami though, but
you were around that. I guess weren't there still a couple guys out there?
I was there, but I don't think I was with them because I was getting out of line as a motherfucker in Miami. Peter, I love Miami. That is my favorite city in the entire world. Well, not for you, you're a married guy, probably not a good city for you to be, but for myself, single guy, that's my city.
Dude, that place is ridiculous. I remember it's amazing how little clothes women wear just in general there. And just people are looking to party, it seems. Even at like 2 a.m. that's packed, and I saw some interesting stuff in Miami. Went to live.
The beach in South Beach, you gotta go. Like he said, the women just don't, I don't know. They got different bathing suits down there. Let's put it like that. Sometimes they don't forget their tops. It's a crazy place.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I just saw one girl walking around just like showing it all off. She had like a slit in her dress or whatever, and she just decided to move it over and whatever. I mean, I was walking back. I'm married. That's not something I'm into, but
of course not, man. Of course not. Shout out to your wife, be nice woman.
Shout out to Ashley in case she ever sees this,
Exactly, man. Exactly. But I've been to 2 of the live finals. Obviously, a very memorable time for the first one. When I went to that one in LA. Shout out to Asani. And then,
so sad that that's over, dude.
What do you say?
So sad that the Playboy Mansion is done.
I know. My God, what an epic place.
Yeah. Like I actually worked for Star Street, and we did the first parties ever there, and it was hilarious. This kid Jeremy, who runs the site now, Draft. He was just like calling the shots. A 26-year-old kid, like ordering people around, and we just threw like a bachelor style, like a frat party, like Playboy Mansion party for DFS. It was unreal. And yeah, it transformed, and those were so fun. I'll look back on that with like the most fond memories. I think the Playboy Mansion for sure.
Were you married the entire time you were at the Playboy Mansion parties?
No. I mean, we did them in 2013, man. So I also, since we signed the deal, we signed the initial deal with Playboy. I went to like the Midsummer Dream ones, Halloween party, whatever. I went to a bunch of the Playboy parties. So that was good times for sure.
I would ask you for a story, but I
don't it's all good. I mean, my wife knew about a lot of this stuff, and it's just hilarious. I mean, like the funniest story of the whole thing is the very first Playboy Mansion party. It was a Star Street event, and so there's an interesting ratio here with the girls, right? You have the actual playmates, and those girls cost $1,000 a day and are on our exact schedule. They're there from like 1 to 8, right? Then you have a next Rolodex of girls that are like the semi-established, like maybe porn stars or models or whatever, Instagram girls that are really hot, right? You know what I'm talking about.
I met them. Believe me, I know them. Yes.
They're all taking pictures of themselves all over the whole venue and all that stuff. So there's that next group of girls. You're striving to get as many of those as you can. Then you have the Rolodex of girls that are like basically desperate to do anything. They're trying to get any break they can, not established. There's some riffraff in there. That Rolodex is unlimited. So you're basically trying to pick from these buckets. And Jeremy was very frugal. We didn't have a ton of, we were doing relatively well for DFS side, but none of these companies were making money at the time. So we had like 8 actual playmates for like the pictures with the checks, and then we had a good amount of the second tier girls, so it was good, and not many of the third bucket. And it comes down to it, and there's a game in extra innings in baseball, and the girls who are the playmates are off the clock, and they're all leaving. Jeremy's like, oh God, we got to get a picture. So there's one guy who's leading by like a shit ton, right? He gets pictures with the check and the girls. The game's still going on. They take all the pictures. The girls lead. 2 hours later, it's in the 18th inning of this game, still going. Everyone's just shit-faced at this point. The party's going wild, and all of a sudden there's like 8 runs scored in the 18th inning, and a guy jumps from like 12th place to first place. So the guy took a picture with the check and the girls, and he doesn't even win it. It was like so devastating. Everyone's hungover the next day. It was the first Playboy Mansion party, but it might have been one of the most epic ones for sure.
And ever since then, they've been going back until Playboy, for some reason, the mansion itself, I think, sold. So that they can't do parties there anymore.
The guy's preserving the land. He owns like all the property around there. So yeah, it's a big bummer.
Devastating. I had one of my most epic experiences of my life at the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, tell us about that Playboy party, man.
Oh man, I talked about that story in here before, man. Listen, I don't even want to get into this story, man. I don't know. Listen, okay, fine. I'm a short version of people that may have heard it before, because I think I've only told on the DFS podcast. So I went there, of course. I went to Sonny. Sonny took me, and I was in his group of guys. And then I saw you, and I saw Bales there. So I think one of the first interactions we had, we went to the beer pong table, and there were these 2 like girls there. So I asked the one girl, I said, "Oh, like, what do you do?" She's like, "Oh, I do porn." I was like, "Oh, okay. What kind of porn do you do?" She's like, "Name a genre." I said, gangbang. She's like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "What?"
Immediate yes.
I had no idea who these women were. I'm like, "Oh, these are like playmates here." I thought all the playmates are all playmates there. So I start talking to her. I say, like, gangbang. She's like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Oh, what's your porn name?" And then she says, Cat Dior. That was her porn name. So I pull up some porn. Sure enough, Peter, she's in there getting after it. So I got to meet her, and then after that, a lot of drinks were consumed. A lot of drinks are consumed at this Playboy Mansion, that's for sure. They got the grotto, there's the pool, there's girls naked in the pool, there's girls changing right there next to you. It's really out of line stuff, and drinks are consumed. I'm over there, I'm dancing, having a good time. Masani's getting after it. Jared's over there, Masani's friend's getting after it, and then this tall little Cuban girl, this Latina mamacita, walks over, and I don't know what I said. I do some dance shaky move, and I said, "What's up?" She said, "You want to dance?" And then we started talking. We like locked eyes, Peter. You know what I mean? We locked eyes. We look at each other in the eyes. We're dancing. We're having a good time. Her friend comes over. She says, "Hey, come on. We're going to go this way." And she's like, Nah, I'm going to stay here with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then we start dancing. We go into the grotto, the infamous grotto underground. It's like, it's a little bit dark in there. There's a side to it. We're drinking a bunch more. Before you know it, Peter, one thing leads to another. I'm in the infamous grotto. I'm like, this is my chance. Infamous grotto. I've heard so much about the Playboy Mansion grotto in my entire, something's got to happen in here.
Yeah.
So we just, we decide, it's not a sexual thing in there, but, we start, just have an experience in there. We have a moment in there. And then I say, "Hey, you want to come back to the hotel?" So she comes back to the hotel with me. We go up to Asani's room in our bathrobes. Asani and the crew's in there. There's a couple of other random girls in there. I don't know where they came from as well. So we go up there. I have a video of this on my phone too, of us in the room. And then at some point in time, I decided to extend my trip in LA. I go stay at her house for a couple of weeks. And
weeks?
Yeah, I'm telling you, get out of line, man.
Wow.
I stayed at her house for a couple of weeks.
What a life you're living, buddy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's crazy. It's a crazy night. She was, she's an awesome girl. She's south of Sicily. She's been in a couple of videos before. I took her to the poker awards in February this year. And yeah,
hey, dude, you won that. That was also, you had the look in your eye there. That was a look of pure pride, though. That was badass, dude.
Yeah, I was extremely.
Where does that rank in your life moments, bud?
Definitely one of the top for sure. I mean, outside of the prop bets, and then outside of that, yeah, that was one of the. Because
the finishing the book, the award. I mean, it's got to be the award, right? Or is the book more prideful? Where do you take more pride in?
Yeah, that book, I felt so fucking good when I finished. I was walking around just so happy for the next couple of days. But I think the award, just because I really wanted to win some type of, just because they had the awards, I kind of wanted to win one. I've been nominated the past 2 years. So I didn't have a third year in a row. I was like, I hope I win this one. And yeah, I was pretty happy. I was also a little bit buzzed there. So my speech, I was swearing. I was like, out of line. So
yeah, get the line. That's good. That's right. That's what you got to do, bud. No, that's awesome, man. It's so fulfilling and that's what you're chasing. Everyone has something they're chasing, and I think props kind of, you set yourself up for that. It's good to chase after a goal and then hit it, right?
I agree, man. What are you chasing right now, kid? It seems like you've accomplished a lot. So what's the motivator for you right now?
Chasing business right now. Yeah, I want to really make a dent in the sports space.
You want to make it big in the sports space?
Yeah, just like I think there's going to be a ton of opportunity in sports analytics. So I'm exploring all avenues of that, and obviously Fantasy Labs is a big part of it. I love DFS. That's my number one priority and passion. Love the industry, but just sports analytics in general. I think there's going to be so much opportunity because I think sports content's really going to continue to grow, and yeah, that's what I really want to focus on.
So what does that mean exactly for people out there who don't understand what that means, like myself?
Yeah, I mean, investing in other businesses, potentially starting other businesses, really focusing a lot of energy on building Fantasy Labs to make an even better product. Yeah, I mean, really the main thing right now, number one priority is trying to grow Fantasy Labs.
Yeah. So how has Fantasy Labs been going in terms of, I mean, I feel like I love the product. I love the site. I'm a little biased, I got to admit though, because I'm friends with you guys. So
yeah, of course.
No, of course I'm gonna be a little biased, but I feel like it's had some pretty good results for a lot of people that use the site too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a really natural fit in daily fantasy, and just that's why I'm bullish on sports content. Is it's natural to have like tools and services, and what's really popular obviously is just like picks and stuff. Like it's unbelievable how saturated. I mean, I know like your boy Doug's doing a lot of poker content. There's a lot of good sites out there. There's some really good stuff. I'm actually going to be watching that so I can improve my poker game a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's a really natural fit for there to be a lot of good content. And I think on the analytics side, we've done a really good job. And yeah, I'm really happy with where things are, and certainly want to continue to reinvest in it. So yeah, the football season should be great. And yeah. Golf I'm enjoying right now. Have you played any DFS golf, man?
All right, Peter. I heard my one of my GTO club members, Royal, shout out to Royal. He writes a little bit for a site called DFS Army. He's in the chat right now. He told me that he wrote something about you had a big week in golf recently, man, and you took down I'm not sure much about golf. I haven't played it before. I saw Bale's tweet about it. I don't know. Like it seemed like he was in and now he's out. So I'm a little bit worried to get into it, but. What's the deal with this golf, man? Tell me about it.
Yeah, dude, I ran well 1 week too early, bro. I won the $33 tournament. I mean, it was like 60,000, but like if you run that well in like the Masters, you win like $1 million. You know, I had a huge investment in the Masters and it went all right. Ricky Fowler really sank me on the back nine, but yeah, I basically had the nuts. I won the premier flagship $33 tournament. So $33 pays 50,000. I took like first, fourth, had a bunch of good finishes. So that was nice. I mean, that's. Yeah, that goes well. But then, the next week I played 4 5Ks in the Masters and I bricked all of them. So, that's the way it rolls.
Yeah, what kind of stakes are we got at golf right now in terms of the tournaments? They have a Thunderdome for golf?
Oh, big Thunderdome, yeah. You can get 6 figures down easily in DFS golf for the majors. Yeah, which is what I love. I mean, I love that. I love the majors are fun, and I think golf is a really great DFS sport. It's like a perfect GPP sport. You only have to pick 6 golfers, man. Like, you can make like when I made those lineups, I knew who I wanted. I did research before, but it took me 15 minutes to make 150 golf lineups, and then the $33. So a 5K investment return like 60,000.
Don't tell me Sahil's one of the best at this too, please.
Sahil's great at golf. He actually started off really, really bad. He was like one of the worst at DFS golf, and then he became arguably the best or one of the best.
Jesus, man, how does this kid do it? I don't get it, man. How does he do it?
He's good. I love Sahil. Sahil, when I lived in Cambridge, he was like one of my only friends out there. I moved out there for a year, and I was lucky to meet Sahil early on, and yeah, it was really cool. It's way different. I mean, Sahil was working for a startup back then. He wasn't. He was taking shots and then like going bust, taking shots, going bust, and yeah, he was just a great guy. Obviously, like the smartest kid. I knew Sahil was smart when I was hanging out with him and all these like startup guys, and they all went to MIT. They're all like, yeah, none of us are as smart as Sahil. And I'm like, oh, okay. This guy's probably pretty fucking smart. And yeah. So he took a lot of risk, and then he finally, he took a risk where he didn't have much to lose, and then he hit it huge. I mean, he's been the #1 guy for so long,
Who's got the most inside information in golf? Because it seems like if you got the inside information in golf, this could be a big advantage. Like if you knew Dustin Johnson, like that seems like
I can't say, but I know the story that he fell on the stairs did not happen. There's going to be a story that comes out. He may or may not have been getting out of line.
Oh, look, some more cocaine, potentially, whatever.
No. More, a little different. There's a reason that Paulina and him have kids and aren't married. That's all I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Dustin Johnson, if you guys don't know, is a golfer. He was a very late scratch from the Masters this year, Masters biggest tournament of the year. So very strange happening.
Yeah, definitely strange. But
how big is inside information in golf? Because it seems like if you know people, if you know caddies, if you know these guys, that could be some pretty valuable information.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely guys in the DFS community who are going around and going to all the tournaments, and I'm sure there's some information that you can pick up. If you're really involved in the golf community, I'm sure there's stuff that you could find out. But yeah, I think that there's still a lot of data. There's so much public information on Twitter as well. So I think from that standpoint, the one nice thing with golf is like all these guys are trying their hardest. I mean, they have huge incentives. Like that's one of the coolest things about golf is it's like the ultimate skill game. Like golf is hyper competitive. You look at these guys on the web.com tour, they are so freaking good, man. Like they're unbelievably good golfers. If you golf with them, you think they'd easily be a pro golfer. And, they're just getting by. Then you have the cream of the crop in golf, and they're basically just gambling every week,
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's the ultimate skill game. So, yeah, you want to be able to find things like if you could get, like if you knew someone was doing through a swing change or an injury. But, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I imagine that certain people definitely have it. But the nice thing is there's a lot of information, especially for like the big tournaments available on Twitter. I mean, so many people are following this.
Fucking golf, man. I'm not going to be tempted by this, Peter. I'm not going to play golf.
How do you not play the majors for $33 to the chance to win $1 million when you could put in like 10 teams in like 5 seconds? It's so
I don't know the players. I pick Tiger Woods, man. Okay, is Tiger Woods a good player?
If you're gonna pick Tiger Woods, maybe you shouldn't put any lines in there.
Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson. Can I do that? Jack Nicklaus? Can I do that?
Wow, you really don't know much about golf, huh, bud?
I'm kidding. I mean, I know a tiny. I didn't know Sergio Garcia. I thought he was a poker player. No, I didn't know he was. He's still a top golfer.
Dude, Sergio winning is just like it's like confirming the same thing. Like Brexit happens, Donald Trump becomes the president. This whole Patriots incredible Super Bowl comeback, and then Sergio wins his first major. It's interesting. I mean, Sergio's been written off for like years. You don't understand. He came in like when he was 19. He got second in like his first Masters. Or one of his first Masters, and like he was expected to win like a ton of majors. Unfortunate for him, he was playing his best golf, and Tiger Woods is playing his best golf. So pretty fucking hard to win when that's the case. But yeah, he's written off. It's just like a choke artist. But then he got into like the GTO spot, man. He's engaged to like some smoke show. He's happy. Like he said, like everyone says he's like really happy, and then he just goes out and wins the Masters.
So I got to admit, I may or may not have spent a little bit too much time researching his wife and like that fam. I don't know. Because I saw her in the Masters. I turned the Masters on. It was the 18th hole when those two were. I was like, what? Perfect timing. I don't got to watch much of this. Then I went to the playoff. I saw the wife. I did a little Googling.
Nice timing, buddy.
I know. It was. I turned the TV on. I was like, I'm going to watch the Masters now. The 18th hole, it's right there. I said, God is shining down on me right now. I don't got to watch much golf. Then I went to playoff. I'm like, oh, when's this going to end? So, and then it ended. And, I mean, I like the celebration. I like when people win things like that. I like seeing the celebration, the joy.
Yeah, he might have hit his too hard too. Sergio, like the one thing he's known for is like choking on the putts. Like he's just normally not a good putter, and he only needed a 2-putt, and he kind of hit it a little too hard, and it squeaked in the hole. So yeah, good for Sergio for taking it down. Definitely an awesome moment. But yeah, man, the DFS golf might be the best sweat there is, like definitively. Because everything matters. Like you're rooting for your golfers and you're anti-rooting every other golfer. So basically you're like rooting for bad shots more than you're rooting for good shots. But it's fun when your guys are playing. So golf's grown immensely, and I think it's going to continue to grow. I think it sets up perfectly for DFS.
Is there another sport another thing, or esports thing? Is there anything that might be on the horizon in terms of, I guess maybe potentially football, soccer, something like that? Is soccer a big sport now, or is it?
Yeah, I think soccer could grow. I mean, they're investing in that. I mean, I think there's DraftKings UK and FanDuel's offices are still in Scotland. So yeah, I mean, I could see soccer growing. I'm bullish on esports. It didn't really work on like for daily fantasy, but. Dude, you're in the content game. Have you seen how much engagement and the followings that these esports guys have? It's like 10, 20x anyone in poker, DFS, like even more than that. It's like 100x of any of these guys in like when they're like mainstream. These guys are like Michael Jordan if they're at the top of their like, like some of these guys have like 19 million YouTube followers and stuff,
Yeah, it definitely like, and then if I watch some of them, like some of these phase guys, I'm like, man, if I was because I was playing video games before I started playing poker, I was like, this would have been me back in the day if I was if it was a couple years older or whatever, younger, whatever, something like that. That would have been me instead of poker and getting really good at poker. I would have got probably really good at esports, but I probably wouldn't have made as much money. I mean, it seems like the only top percentile of people in esports are really making a lot of money, and most of the people aren't. Like they're not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of money to be made. I know that there's like some lawyers that are streaming. They're like, oh yeah, I'm making more doing this than I was as a lawyer. But yeah, it's obviously a really small percentile. So you have to be good at it, obviously. But I definitely think there's a lot of money. There's gonna be a ton of stuff and engagement with esports. But yeah, that's something I've actually spent a lot of time on. Nothing's come to fruition, but I've been looking for investments in esports and definitely want to figure out a way to apply, stuff we've learned in DFS to that space. Because the analytics companies, like some of these companies have made $0. They just have a concept and idea, and they're raising like $7 million Series A rounds. So it's definitely a lucrative space right now. There's really big multipliers on all the businesses.
And I guess it is public, right? So one of the investors in Fantasy Labs that you guys know is Mark Cuban.
Oh yeah.
And so has that been obviously, I think that's been a beneficial relationship for you guys. I mean, Mark Cuban, one of the most well-known entrepreneurs, investors in America right now.
Yeah, dude. I met that guy playing poker. You know that? You want to know the luckiest I've ever gotten? Here's the definitive luckiest thing that's ever happened to me. I played the Tiger Woods $10,000 buy-in, mind you, charity poker tournament. So you have to pay $10K to get in. There's only a couple seats I want. I want either next to Tiger or next to Mark Cuban, right? And I draw the one seat out of like 10 tables next to fucking Tiger Woods and Mark Cuban. And yeah, it just worked out really well. Got to talk with them. We made fun of Phil Hellmuth. Yeah, it was great. I mean, Phil Hellmuth was hilarious, but yeah, I got to chat with him. We talked a lot of NBA. Tiger was really interested in like the fantasy golf stuff because I was asking him a lot of questions about that. And yeah, it worked out well. I've talked with Mark a bunch. We became friends after that. We talked analytics around just like the draft and some other things. And yeah, I asked him for advice pertaining to Fantasy Labs when DFS kind of had some turmoil times. And his advice was, let me invest. That's all I emailed back. Just like, let me invest. And that was, it's good.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, he's bullish on the esports stuff, man. He told me NBA 2K17 or whatever that they're doing like a league now, like 5 people play.
I saw that. Yeah,
he has some big money. He told me that I should be looking at that, and yeah. So we'll see. I mean, obviously that's come to fruition now. So he's bullish on esports too.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a combination because with YouTube right now and Twitch, there are so many big like NBA 2Ks I played. That's like the one game I play still. There's a lot of these really big NBA 2Kers on YouTube. So it seems like people with the esports, they can grow their brands on YouTube. They can grow their brands on Twitch, on Twitter, on these other social media platforms. And I mean, the game, it's always a new game. So it never sort of dies out. People are always gonna be playing the games. So it does seem like a good, I mean, I don't know. I think it keeps getting bigger and bigger because so many more people, they just watch these players. They don't even play the games. They just watch these guys play the games. And I find it incredible. Honestly, I find it incredible.
Dude, my brother watches it nonstop, and I'm like trying to understand like what he's doing, and he still plays the games. But yeah, I think people enjoy watching it like as much as anything. And dude, like I remember when I was in college, like I loved watching like card runners videos and all that jazz. Like I actually really enjoyed it because I was trying to get better at poker, and like it was cool like to see that content, So I think the same thing is really applicable in all these video games. People are getting so competitive with that. It's really interesting. You can get a college scholarship for playing video games now.
You just play the games. That's it.
Yeah, college scholarship. If you're one of the best in the world in certain games, you can get a college scholarship.
That's incredible. Honestly, it's crazy how it's all worked out. I mean, like the first experience I saw with it, my little brother, Tutu Andrew Cool, aka Big Dog, aka Yardstick. I went over to my parents' house and he's watching something on the YouTube. I'm like, what are you doing, man? He's like, I'm watching this guy play a game. I go, why? Why would you watch this guy play a game? And then I realized that's like what he does. He plays some games, but he just watches people play games. And obviously, I'm sure if you know any younger kids, teenagers, like these guys, all they do is spend time on YouTube. It's fucking incredible, man.
People still do it. I watch some of these hands that you and Doug are doing, some of these PLO hands to see you getting into the teaser game. You set it up so you have the interesting part of the hand like that. But I see you. That's nice. Yeah. It's fun, man. Like, I mean, I like that content, and that's really interesting. Like content, that's the opportunity right now, right? Content is splintering across the board. So in the past, like if you look at how people consume things, like way back in the day, there's only a couple TV channels. There's the radio. Like, there's only so many inputs or there's only so many things that you can consume. Then, even as recent as like 10 years ago, like, it's main TV channels. There's a couple things like, there's the main radio stations, whatever. Like, you're really limited in your choice. Now anyone can do a podcast, and podcasts have gotten so big. You can consume it that way. Anyone can make videos. Anyone can do, like, show off what they're doing, and people can just consume what they're really passionate about. So there's a lot more niche content, and I think that's going to continue to be the trend. So yeah, it's cool. Esports is cool. Poker's cool. Love it. There's a lot of good stuff to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday, actually, because a lot of podcasts out there, as you mentioned, DFS, ton of podcasts, poker's more and more podcasts out there, and I guess it just really has replaced reading. It's replaced television for many people out there. So I'm going to be interesting. I feel like with that, even if you do a podcast, if you have a small audience, I mean, that's good enough for a lot of people out there. You don't really need a massive audience. If you got a couple people watching you, I think that's pretty cool for many people.
Oh yeah, dude, for sure. That's everything now. So yeah, this is what gets me excited, man. I like thinking about, like, what's going to happen in the future. What are people going to be doing? And trying to figure out, like, business solutions around them. That's definitely, I think, my number one thing is I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I really want to focus on being an entrepreneur. So that's really what led me to DFS, honestly. I was more bullish on the business side than playing. And then it just turned out that the market was really inefficient for a while. So it's still, like, there's a lot of opportunity. Can you believe, like, people are making money watching sports and setting fantasy lineups?
I definitely cannot know. That would have been this amount of money. I mean, yeah, it seems pretty. I mean, like, I think I've told us about it too, is that I think honestly, you may have been the first person ever telling me about DFS.
I told you in your chat. I used to watch your videos. I still do. I watch all those videos, man.
You attempted to help me win hundreds of thousands of dollars. I appreciate that, by the way, because
you could have got in a lot earlier, man, and you could have been playing football with, like, total donkeys. Like, I'm telling you, like, guys have no clue. Like, it was 2015. DraftKings was the #1 spender in all of the U.S. in TV advertising in September. You know how many people came on and played DraftKings that month? It was crazy.
Yep, that's when you were telling me in the chat. You're like, man, Joey, you would love daily fantasy sports. I'm like, man, I'm playing high stakes PLO. I'm doing pretty well at high stakes PLO. So debatable if it would have been better or worse to switch. I'm like, man, I know you're just trying to get me into DFS, trying to make me in there. Yeah, sucker me in. I'm like, man, but looking back in retrospect, a lot of my friends then got into that, and there are some of the guys who are doing
poker players. Right, poker players, all these guys, they've made it way tougher. Like, there is no, like, that those people think the right way, and there's so many similarities, and that's like I love it. It's investing. It's just on a much more instant gratification, method. Same with PLO. Like, that's my favorite game, by the way. No Limit Hold'em is so boring.
Yeah, I agree.
How good would you be at what's the 5-card Omaha game called?
Big O. I mean, yeah, too many.
That's the other game in Colorado. It's Big O and this No Limit game that are high stakes.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Denver, but they have some really high, like, there's multiple high stakes games out there. And just from meeting more people, turns out there's high stakes games in almost every city. It's kind of crazy how high some of the stakes do get in some of the cities around the USA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it. These are just golf buddies, but it's fun. It's fun playing them, and it's definitely kind of perfect timing too. The summer, like, I definitely want to be playing a lot of golf, working out. Playing poker once or twice a week a night would be really fun. So it's good timing in that regard. But yeah, it's fun. I definitely love PLO though. Like, it's way more interesting than No Limit for sure. And that's all I played before. It's like I played No Limit sit and goes. That's all I did. All you had to know is shoving ranges. Like, when everyone got shallow, you just trap big hands. It was just very simple. You had your poker tracker or whatever, and, like, super easy. And that's all I really know how to do. So I'm not by no means a good poker player, but it's fun getting back in the swing of things.
The great game of Potland Omaha. Listen, Peter, you ever need something?
I'm interested, man.
I'd be more than happy to help you out with some PLO.
How good at this Big O game are you?
Big O. I mean, I haven't played much of it, so it would all be speculation. It would all be theorizing and assumptions. And in terms of actual, I never like when I work with people, I never like to teach things that are theories to me. I like to teach things that I have done in and out. I know the positives, negatives, what happens down the road.
Right.
So Big O, I just haven't played it enough to really know much about it, but I know it's high variance as a motherfucker.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like Pineapple too. That's probably the game I've played the most actually now. if I had to like pick a game I'd want to play against some random person, it'd be Pineapple OFC. But yeah, that game's a lot of variance. Omaha's a lot of variance. You're making way more hands, just way more fun.
Someone in the chat peddling the great game of Portland, Omaha. I agree. The great game of Portland, Omaha. So someone mentioned about peddling. He said, Joey, you should have started poker vlogging before all these other jokers came up on the scene. First of all, if poker vlogging was around when I was playing 14-hour days and doing my crazy prop bets and Twitch was, I would definitely be that top person in poker right now. But unfortunately, it wasn't around, and I'm not going to fucking do that now. But in DFS, I feel like that should start. Why aren't people video blogging their stuff in DFS, Peter?
Yeah, you could. I mean, the most classic thing now is the fucking screenshots. I mean, have you seen this stuff? Like, I don't know how many DFS guys you follow, but
listen, my DFS guys I follow now are you, Bales, Sahil, Cameron from Road Grinders. I got to put Adam back on there too. Adam tweets out a lot of DFS stuff. I switched up my Twitter strategy, so I only got a couple guys on there I follow right now. And
yeah, no, it's gotten painful. So everyone's like doing screenshots of only when they win, of course, and like it's so classic. Yeah, and my favorite, it's my biggest pet peeve, but it's just so funny that people do this. They'll take a screenshot in the middle of the action, so nothing's finalized at all. They've won nothing, but at that moment in time, they're winning everything, you know? And there's so many factors. Like, they could have more guys early, like they might not even have a winning lineup at all, but for that one moment in time, they're winning like a couple $100,000 or whatever. And that's just run wild. Like, people are just, that's like the basic business in DFS in the content game is like, do screenshots, give someone just picks or lineups, and charge them. That's like the very generic game. And that's one thing that is kind of annoying about the space, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense, obviously, because you'll have, you have top tier guys, and then you have mid-tier guys, and then you got the middle scavenger kind of guys, but you got a lot of donks, obviously, a ton of donks that are just looking for anything. Like, they don't know that these picks aren't good. They think like, I mean, it's just, think about it.
They see the screenshot, they're like, oh, this guy won, he must know what he's doing, and then he's right. There wouldn't be so many people doing it if it didn't work in some regard, you know?
Right. I mean, that's called market. That's called sale promotion, marketing. I mean, and to us, it seems like a terrible fucking strat. But at the same time, we got to think about Carl, who lives
sleazy, man. It's just sleazy. That's the only thing I don't like. Some of it is a little too sleazy, but it is what it is. That's the nature of it, right? Like, there's nothing I can do about that. Or you can try to do things the right way, like actually try to help people. But yeah, it is what it is. And I respect the hustle. I'm not ever trying to hate on someone trying to be an entrepreneur or hustle. It's just I don't like the deceptive, sleazy stuff, you know?
I mean, I don't know if someone's going to be a poker coach that can't win at poker. I mean, I'm gonna send my hate on that, but I'm gonna dislike that. I'm gonna have something to say about that. I feel like where you're at in the industry, I mean, I don't know if to myself, I feel like I should say something about that if I was to see something like that going on. I feel like the same way kind of goes for someone like you, where you guys have that big audience and a lot of people are listening to the podcast when you and Adam do it, or you and Al are on there. So, I mean, you guys kind of are those voices for people to listen to, and they put a lot of stock into what you say.
Yeah, no, and I definitely try to do that, but it's hard. There's just so many people doing it, and yeah, even with like fantasy stats, people have like made the same Twitter accounts, like with like one letter different, like to the same exact like background and all that stuff. And I mean, it's amazing what people are willing to do, but that's just the nature of the world we live in now. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but I guess it's good if that stuff's happening. It's a good problem to have. That's the stuff that's going on. It's interesting. How bullish are you on poker as a game right now? Like on a scale of 1 to 100.
Man, I mean, I guess from a personal standpoint, from a general standpoint, I guess I'm a little bit more optimistic than I normally would be, because content on YouTube is growing so much, and Doug's out there just fucking killing it. And I think Doug's going to have one of the biggest impacts on the poker world.
Dude, well,
anyone in the entire world.
Real quick on Doug, I'm not going to divulge this, but I was never skeptical of Doug, because I could tell he's articulate, but I was like, why is this guy it's the same thing I'm sure people think about me in DFS. Like, why is this guy hustling so hard in the content game? Like, is his game starting to fall off? Whatever. And yeah, I heard from someone who I've heard from other people is like a top 10 guy, but like mad respect. I'm not going to divulge who it is, but he said Doug Polk is like the best content. He's one of the best, if not the best, in the limit players. And I was like, wow, he's saying that about Doug. So shout out to Doug. That's good for him.
I mean, I think Doug basically saw a massive inefficiency that was going on in the content game and also in the poker trading site game, and he capitalized on it. I mean, he's just, He's got a great team of guys. He's obviously a super hard worker. He's got,
Yep.
I mean, he's one of the most, I mean, when I think about work ethic, I think about guys like him, man, that he's somebody who, you know, and that's why I enjoy talking to him, because he's a guy who I look at and I say, man, you know, he's doing a lot of great stuff, and, you know, definitely pushes myself to be more GTO about my approach with things, because I see sort of what's possible when Doug does it. And I'm like, man, I'm donking around here pretty hard in terms of my strategy and in terms of the way I might deliver stuff and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think Doug is going to have the biggest impact on poker over this next year, outside of a legislation change or anything, just because he's getting so many. And that's sort of, it's crazy, right? Like one person can have that big of an impact on a game like poker, where now it's just tens of millions of views are going to be coming in over this next year. And that's just potential new players that come in. Now they want to learn. They're going to go to sites. They're going to want more content. They're going to want to play. So it's really quite incredible how that's even possible.
Oh, yeah. No, he's crushing it, man. The content, I mean, he's all over. I see it all the time. I mean, obviously, I'm a targeted person within this network, but it's awesome. I've watched a lot of his content, and yeah, I had a ton of respect before, but then I heard that, and yeah, I'll probably be buying a subscription here to Upswing Poker. So
oh, yeah, he's certainly
debatable. I
debatable.
gotta improve my game, man. I'm playing poker twice a week now, I guess.
Yeah, I love how you're playing a 50, 100, 200 game, and you're like, yeah, maybe I should work on my game here a little bit. Yeah, probably, Peter.
I should probably work on it. Yeah, I used to be all right. I'm gonna work on it, like, for sure.
Well, I heard the competition in the game may not be some of the best players in the world, so
that's why I fit in. You know, it's perfect. That's why I come in. You know, like it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what Dan Bilzerian says. If you're in a game and you're the best player, even though if you're not the best, if you play with tough players, you're going to be one of the worst. But you're in a lineup like that, you're one of the best. I mean, that's still a good spot to be in.
Of course, I mean, that's listen, like a lot of it too for me. Like again, it's a lot of relationship stuff, and I play golf with a lot of these guys, and they're really connected in the business space. So it's not just like, hey, I'm trying to go in and make money playing poker. I'm trying to hang out with successful people and, like, you know, build my network.
Well, that's kind of what they want too. They want to hang out with guys who aren't coming there just to fucking savage them out of their money and just take all their money. They want guys that are going to have a good time. They want guys that are going to be fun, and want also people that they can, you know, talk with too and build relationships with as well. Yeah, no, it is cool, and it's definitely fun to be back in the swing of things with golf, with poker. But yeah, man, it's interesting. I need the Big O game. That's the one. That's right. I'll have to watch some of your Omaha stuff or find. Is there any? I'm excited. I've never played it before, but like that's what I'm like, and I'm gonna walk into it one of these games here soon, like in the next week. What do I do? Like, you're not gonna listen to me, but you play tight in early position with especially Big O.
Yeah.
But it's like you get 5 cards, so it's going to be tough. And a lot of those queen high flush draws, you go down even more. Top 2 pairs go down in value even more. Combo draws sometimes are going to go down in value even more.
Nut draws and set mining and stuff like that, right?
Even set mining is certainly a dangerous proposition. I mean, you take, let's say, queen 8-5, and you got top set of queens. Very vulnerable hand in that spot, where it's not like you're always looking to just shovel as much money as you can, depending on what your side cards are in that spot. So it can be. I mean, if it's like it's a big math problem. I know there are equities.
I like it, man. It's fun. I'll have to figure it out. But yeah, it's gonna be good, man. You got any big plans for summer? Summer's gonna be like the best time for me. I'm ecstatic. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably go to Vegas for about a month and a half, something like that. Go out there, do a lot of content, do a lot of podcasts, network out there, to see friends. I mean, all the poker world's out there, so there's just so many people that I get to see once a year, and I just enjoy being around. So probably go out there, maybe do some traveling around the world at some point in time, I guess. I don't know. What about you? What do you got planned up?
I'm gonna play a bunch of golf, a bunch of travel. I'm doing that same Tiger Woods thing. I'm going to Tiger Jam in May in Vegas. I'll probably make it out for maybe I'll play the main event this year or something like that. Outside of that, I have some really fun mountain golf trips planned. I'm going to Napa Valley with the wife. I got some weddings. You got any weddings this year?
I try to avoid it.
Oh, what are you talking about? Right. First of all, based on everything you're trying to do, how do you not want to go to weddings?
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I never put a priority on going to weddings.
You've seen Wedding Crashers, obviously, right?
As one of my favorite movies of all time.
Dude, like especially at our age now, like I see it all the time at my buddies' weddings. People are hooking up like crazy. They're having the time of their lives. Their friends are getting married. Like everyone's gleeful. There's drinking. There's great food. I mean, what else do you want? Huh.
I've only been, the recent weddings I've been to, my mom's been there. So, I don't get too out of line. My mom always wants to dance. She wants to she like gets white girl wasted. She gets a good time. But
Like,
Yeah.
my wedding, like one of my good friends who's a VC guy, he came in and Ashley's best friend's sister was in from San Francisco, and they're both looking to have a good time, meet someone, and they meet, and then they hang out in San Francisco, kind of like you and that girl, 2 weeks, whatever. Like, stuff goes down, man.
Will you keep me updated on the weddings? I don't know. We'll see. Is Bale's getting married? Can Bale get married soon or something?
I'm not like an experienced wedding guy, but like I'm going to more this summer, and like obviously I'm married, so it's a lot different. But if I'm you, I'm single, I'm freaking entrepreneur, doing well. Like I'm having fun. I'm going to some weddings. Prioritize that.
The one place I really want to go to is Denver.
Oh yeah,
that's where I want to go.
You'll go to Denver this summer easily. The DraftKings baseball championships there. Actually, those poker guys don't play as much baseball, but I'm sure Asani will try for that qualifier. Asani always wants to go for the $1 million, right?
Asani recently messaged me. Shout out to Asani. He said, "Hey, I ended my lease in San Diego. I'm just going to travel the world. Let me know if you want to go anywhere." I said, "Okay, I'm in."
I love Asani. I saw him in Miami. He's definitely got that right mindset. And yeah, not a better time to travel the world right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Obviously now, I'm getting to that age, 31. You never know what happens. I can get married. I feel like I can meet that one anytime, Peter. Obviously, you've been married for, how long have you been married for? So
I got married in June last year, so like 9 months, man.
9 months, that's it?
I lost my wedding ring, dude, too. This is so bad. I was not home at all in March, right? I went to Boston for Sloan, went to Hawaii with my dad, went to Palm Springs for a tennis prop and to watch some tennis, went to Miami for the DraftKings NBA Live final, came back, went to New York. I was basically at home like 3-4 days. In the midst of that, I lost my wedding ring. So that's not good. Now I come home and like I haven't been home that much, and all of a sudden I'm going to play poker till 4 a.m. So my wife's amazing. Somehow she's putting up with me.
What happened to the wedding ring?
The wedding ring I lost actually going through security. I was late. For the Boston Red Eye. Had to make it for Sloan, and I had to take it off because it's like a Tuscan that had set it off before, and it like fell through the cracks somehow. I put it in my backpack and I think it fell out. So I mean, I had to go, man. It's gone.
Listen, I believe you, Peter. Okay, I'm not saying
my ring.
I'm not saying you're lying. I'm not saying anything. I believe you. Okay, your story sounds good to me. Okay, I trust you.
No, yeah, that's all right. Here's the real deal, man. The real deal is I lose everything all the time. My wife knows this more than anyone, right? So I'm always the guy looking for my keys, my wallet, whatever. Like the worst thing I ever did was, it's Colorado here. Might have been enjoying some Colorado product. I got razzled somehow on the phone, and I'm changing the trash bag, and somehow I throw my wallet in the trash can, then put the trash can bag over the wallet. Spend 3 hours looking for my wallet, can't find it. My wife finds it.
How could she possibly ever? Because I'm someone that loses my stuff a lot too.
She started doing that. She started looking around, and she's like, "Oh, there's a new trash bag. Did you put it?" She found it in like 15 minutes. So she knows I'm capable of losing things. Also, when I bought my ring, I was with her. I told her I'm buying the cheapest possible ring because I'm inevitably going to lose it. So I'm going to lose it again. She's suggesting the tattoo. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do the tattoo around the ring, but yeah, rings might not be. I might not be able to.
Peter, I know you're a smart guy, so I mean, this could be like the greatest story of all time, and I'm not. And I applaud it, my pen. Listen, I'm clapping for you, buddy. I believe you. Don't got to convince me, Pete. You don't got to convince me.
I think it's interesting. I just think it's a funny story. I lose my wedding ring, come home. Like if I'm her, and she's like giving me a little shit about it too, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really have a good defense here. I mean, I've been gone for like a month, though. Now I'm playing poker late at night. Like, yeah. It's all true, but
Poppy.
I know, I'm getting into trouble, bro. So you ask what I'm doing. That's what's happening.
So, okay, you got to speak at the Sloan Conference. Sloan Conference is at MIT. It's one of these things where all these really smart guys get to speak there. I think that seems like a pretty massive honor, man. How did that happen? How did that come to be?
Yeah, so I've spoke there before. I had a panel. I've been there. The guy who runs it, Daryl Morey, I actually know really well. My buddy. I know Daryl Morey. So I've been in touch with him. One of my good friends actually ran the Sloan Conference in 2013. So, yeah, the funny thing about the Sloan Conference, man, it's actually a little ironic. We were set to have Nate Silver as our moderator. Nate Silver was actually at the DraftKings event. Did you get to meet him?
Was he in the one in New York?
Yeah, he was in the one in New York. He was sitting with Brandon.
Tilting. I didn't meet him. No, I would definitely want to meet him though.
Yeah, cool. Before I talked with you, I talked with him for like an hour. So that was cool. But he was going to be the moderator for us, right? So we had the DFS panel. We had a chance to be like somewhat of a draw, right? And then freaking Mark Cuban comes in last second. He said he's done with Sloan. He's like, I can't do that anymore. It's like too much. I come in, I get mobbed. Every entrepreneur pitches me their idea, whatever. And he freaking comes in, and it's Nate Silver and Mark Cuban talking about politics versus the DFS panel, literally the exact same time. So we lose our moderator and Nate Silver, and then Cuban steals our thunder. So I emailed him about that. Gave him a hard time. Said I wonder who's going to draw better, me, our daily fantasy panel, or you and Nate Silver.
So how'd the draw go for you guys?
I think we might have gotten 5%. I don't know, 10% of what they got. Seems about reasonable. That is
definition of big timed right there. You got big timed hard, kid.
You got big time massive, and it's just like of all people, like because Brandon is friends. Brandon was on the panel with Brandon Adams. He knows Nate really well. They're good friends. He brought him to the New York final. Like everything was set. And it was fine. Neil did a great job. It was great, but it was just like, come on, Mark. Like if you're gonna come in, at least don't big time me, man.
It's rough, kid.
Rough, but it's on the internet. I liked it, man. Sloan's great. If you're passionate about sports, passionate about analytics, you're an entrepreneur, it's the best place to go. Sells out every year, and it's getting better and better. So definitely a good spot to be.
For this tennis prop bet, are you on? You don't have to get into specifics because I know what specifics, but are you on the winning or losing side of this thing?
I'm on the way winning side.
Okay, so
we haven't lost. We haven't lost.
Who's on the other side? Is it?
I don't want to specify too much about the tennis. I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't much to I saw it on Periscope a little bit by someone may or may not have been Periscoping a little bit of the match.
Yeah, and we Periscope it off of social, but like, yeah, I don't mind talking about it personally, and even if I was losing, I wouldn't mind talking about it. But I don't know how the other parties feel. But it's fun, man. Like that's my favorite things to do. Like I want to set props on like skills, like golf, tennis, basketball. Whatever, weightlifting. I mean, anything that you can work on to better yourself, I'm all about setting something up around that, right?
Yeah, didn't you? Where were you on to prep it with me? What were you talking about? What were you saying?
Yeah, shooting. What do you shoot from the high school 3-point line, bud?
I shoot pretty well, but I never really done like 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here. I've never really done something like that before. And I also haven't been playing too much ball these past couple months because I wasn't home for March as well. Also,
lifting, though. What? Yeah. After you talk about basketball, tell me about your lifting too.
My lifting, I'm getting much more back into lifting. Yes, that's what I'm enjoying right now.
We'll talk about that in a second. All right, but basketball. Let's just theoretically, what do you think you shoot? Don't sandbag here, buddy.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Honestly, I've never really tested it out.
Would you take over under 50%?
I would take over.
Would you take over under 55%?
I might. I don't know. I don't want to get carried away, so I might take over 50.
If you're a good shooter and you play a lot of ball, and like you shoot threes and like pick up and like that's one of your strengths, I'd say most people land in that like 55-ish range, 53, 57. Really, you start getting good around 60, and then like some of these guys are elite and like they can shoot up to like 70% or higher. Obviously, you get into like pro basketball players. It's not like I think Steph Curry probably shoots like 85, 90% in that scenario, like a high school three.
Right, unguarded,
and rhythm, not off a rack. Maybe he shoots like 90%. So like, there's interesting ranges, but that's one of my favorite ones. I'm trying to work on shooting because I'm done like 5-on-5, man. I've played 5-on-5 twice since then, and I had one like sprained ankle. I saw one guy dislocate his shoulder, and I'm pretty much going to pick my spots very selectively when I play basketball. Much rather do like 2-on-2 or mostly just shooting at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
I'm more into the diet right now, cooking food, lifting. I'm kind of more into that.
Are you pretty GTO on the diet? That's why I really need to improve on.
I've been improving it. I've just started cooking all my meals. So now I want to become a professional chef so I can cook all my stuff up, but I'm still learning. I'm aspiring. I'm trying to figure out how to do things better.
Yeah.
But you got a wife, kid. Shouldn't she be? I mean, I don't want no shot and no feminist.
No, this is good. This is good. I like that. I agree with you. No, she works though, man. My wife is she's actually crushing it. Just got a text. She is #1 in sales for new homes here in her division. So she's selling new homes, and it's just like, again, right place, right time. Colorado is just booming, crazy. More people moved here last year on a percentage basis than any other state. There's new homes. Like there's not enough inventory, right? So she's selling, people buying new houses, and that business can be brutal. Like if you're selling new homes in 2008, you're selling nothing, right? Like everyone's desperate to get rid of their houses. They're not building new ones. Right now, it's really good timing. So she has that grind, selling homes, thinks she really loves it. And so she gets home at like 7 p.m. So Sometimes she's a little tired. She does bring home food every day, but we go out a little too much.
Well, there's a chance my buddy Royal I mentioned, GTO Club, he's in the process of either building a new house, but that might not work out. So I might need to put you guys in touch because he is looking for literally getting a house in Denver right now. He's staying there right now temporarily in a condo.
Wow, that's badass, dude. I love that.
There's a very, he just said in the chat, guess I should have talked to him before I started contracting to build out here. Yeah, exactly. If something falls through with that,
no. My wife is she's doing stuff in Castle Rock. That's probably, I assume if this is your buddy, he definitely doesn't want to be in That's like south. That's way south of Denver. It's like,
it's too south.
All family homes, man. Like 100% family homes.
Yeah, he's looking by the airport right now.
Yeah, that's where it's blowing up, man. Everything by the airport's blowing up. So. Yeah. So tell me about the food, man. I've been doing I have a Vitamix. I get like the coconut milk and spinach and bananas and try to do protein and some other stuff, trying to take some probiotics, trying to eat more salads, more vegetables. But yeah, I actually have prop bets right now. I can only have 3 bad meals or snacks a week, and I can only have 7 drinks or less per week.
Ooh.
So
I don't think that's too hard. Right now I'm cooking all my meals. So I'm just making 1 chicken breast. So it's maybe like before it's cooked, it's maybe little more than ½ pound. So I'm cooking that in olive oil and then garlic with lemon pepper as the seasoning for it. No salt, not really trying to use salt with it. And then vegetables. But right now I don't know how to do the vegetables you buy in the produce part. So I'm doing the steamed vegetables in the freezer. Please, guys, don't fucking get after me about that. People have been messaging me on Instagram and they're like making fun of me for that. But I'm starting there small, vegetables there, and then I've been doing a lot of sweet potato fries and or rice as my carb with that. And then that's for 2 meals, and then I have my breakfast, which is normally eggs and oatmeal.
Oh, nice, bud. And what about lifting? What's your strongest lift?
My strongest lift right now, that's a good question. It's probably going to be bench press in terms of pure number, just because I was.
So what are you at right now?
When I was doing my workouts, my trainer, I got back up to 225 about like 5 times. But I don't know if I want to do that again because that's a lot of, I potentially get hurt. So I haven't really been going over 205 anytime recently.
Yeah, so that's the problem for me right now is I'm doing 225. So what you were telling me, what's GTO right now? My last set, actually I shouldn't go, I don't want Levitan to know, but what should I be doing if I'm trying to maximize my reps at 205?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was thinking about that more. And for me in the past, anytime I've always upped my max is when all my lower, when I go drop down, I just start crushing them out. So I think I don't want to give an official answer on here on the podcast because I'd only be speculating. But it seems to me if you could increase your max, then I think that's the best way to increase your 205 lift right now. Because you're at 205, like 8 or something like that, 8 to 10 to 11, something like that in there. Maybe more, maybe less. So I think that might be good to do like that.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I mean, Levitan's going to win this one anyways, but I'm still pushing. I want to give my best result. And yeah, I definitely have been trying to do that a little bit more. But I agree with you. I don't think in general, especially where we're at, I mean, I want to be more flexible. Like bench press is great. You can get a bigger chest, whatever, broader shoulders, but it's not like the most functional strength, Like for me, I need to hit a golf ball farther. That's why I need to work on like stuff like that, stretching and whatnot.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of yoga, a lot of stretching for a while now with the foam roller. Obviously, I got one of my foam rollers right here, kid, next to my desk. I always roll on it. I always do a lot of stuff on here for all my lower body and my back and my arms and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good, man. I want to do this like a yoga golf thing I just found. I think I'm gonna go to that. The problem is I'm like the least flexible guy, and I was maybe average flexibility before this injury, and now like my hamstrings are super tight. I don't know what it is. So I clearly need to do that stuff. It's going to be tough to go into some of those things cold and be like not flexible at all.
What's a yoga golf?
There's like yoga golf things where they like do like a lot of yoga and like golf exercises to get better at golf.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that in my life.
Me neither. I heard about it recently.
I've heard of chess boxing chess. I didn't know there's yoga golf.
Yeah. Apparently that's such a thing, man.
Yeah, it makes sense because I feel like
if there's not, maybe I'll start that. Maybe I'll find some people to get more into that.
That could be an investment you make for sure.
There's a new business right there. Yeah.
Could be something, man. People in the chat are saying yoga wheel's pretty good. Never tried that out. James McGuire said frozen veggies are healthier. Freezing them locks in nutrients while they are fresh. Jonas says suggest sports massage to improve flexibility. Deep tissue massages. Yeah, I get a lot of massages too.
Yeah, I need to start doing that. I need to go get massages. That's very good advice.
Yeah, but in terms of the hamstring stretches are easy to start, Poppy. You can do them anytime.
I've been doing them. I've been doing them a bunch of them. So I have like a hanging one where I try not to reach as much. I'm really just working. I can feel it. They're getting slightly better. It just they got super tight. So I need to really improve on that. I wish there was like a prop I could do around stretching. Like some of these things I want to get, like even like core lifts, like crunches or whatever. Like you can't really do props around those.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, obviously, in an action junkie like you, need that bet. It seems like I'm kind of the same way. Whenever I have prop bets, that's when I always seems like I
just want to do the best I can. I want to. It's like if I don't, I'm pretty self motivated, but like I have a lot of stuff going on, so it's easy to move something in place of like working out and being healthy. It's easy to like prioritize something else over it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's some justification for it in the short term, but long term, like your body's your temple, man. So especially after this injury, I'm way more aware of that. And like, I really want to make sure I invest in it, and anything to give me more incentive to do it is just going to make me more disciplined. So I think it makes sense to set yourself up with incentives. And I'm a competitor naturally too. Like I know that it's not about the money as much as it is about the pride, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you want to win these things, especially like racquetball and like, sucks to lose.
Yeah, I've never played racquetball before, except I know you can take an eye out pretty easily there. So be careful. Watch your eye, kid.
Did you hear the story? You clearly didn't hear the story.
Did someone hurt their eye?
I hurt my eyebrow. Did you not know about this?
No, what happened?
Oh, this is so fucking. This is the best. This is a classic Peter just donkey move. So I insist that goggles are critical to wear for safety, because I was in a racquetball class in college, and our teacher talked about someone lost an eye playing racquetball, and like I've seen people get black eyes not wearing them. Like you can get hit around the face. Just you need to protect your eyes playing racquetball. And I insist that they're important. And Levitan's like, nah, man, I'm too cool for the goggles. I can't wear any glasses. I'm not going to do it. It's going to impede my vision. I'm like, all right, man, you're risking it here. So we're dueling, and it's more competitive. I talked a lot of smack. I thought I had the edge. I wasn't moving very well, and it's a tight match. And there's a ball up against the wall, and I like really go for it, and I get it, but I didn't. Part of the thing is I'm not as coordinated with the injury, just a little bit, but I crashed into the wall, and the goggles gashed my eyebrow right here. I had to get 6 stitches because of the goggles. There's a picture on Twitter. Go to Bale's Twitter. It's a nasty gash.
So you got hurt because of the goggles?
Because of the goggles that I insisted were critical for safety. So then we had to go to urgent care in Florida, and I get a pregnant, she was awesome. I had a pregnant doctor, and she's like, yeah, don't feel too bad. Someone came in relatively recently with a big laceration from an alligator bite, so you're not doing too bad. And I was like, all right, that's not too bad. But yeah, I got like a little black eye and 6 stitches, so I guess I'm just really fucking injury prone now. It's terrible.
Yeah, it sounds like one of the biggest dong things I've ever heard in my life. You wore the safety glasses at racquetball, and you got
like wearing
stitches because of them.
I didn't do laundry, and someone's giving me crap about the Casual Friday shirt, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go for it. And I didn't do laundry. It's just like the same thing, Like the insisting on the glasses is worse. But yeah, someone's peddling. Someone was giving me a hard time about it, and it is kind of funny.
No, I like the shirt, man. I think the shirt's good. Casual Friday of golf, Casual Friday MLB.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good.
What's up? So what podcast you doing? I know you're doing the podcast with Adam sometimes, and then so you got the fantasy labs. You're in the lab or something like that. I've been seeing out there a lot too. What's kind of like your podcast schedule and your approach for things right now?
Yeah, it's really busy during the fall. It's going to slow down a ton now, but there's like basketball, football. So the big one we did was the Edge at DraftKings, and we have all the fantasy lab stuff. Inside the lab is really cool. It's something we just did at Fantasy Labs where we're basically looking more so at the tools. So it's a screen share. So we're going through the models, and for NBA in particular, I think it's really cool because the news will come in. We'll find out that Steph Curry's not playing or whatever, and you can kind of see how the models change, and we talk about the implications of those entries. So it's pretty good content, I think, and we've definitely had a lot of good engagement from it. So that's part of the grind right now in terms of the content game. The summer's really nice for baseball. I mean, it's a little slower. I'm really happy about where golf's going, but yeah, the podcast game is growing, man. I'm really into what other podcasts do you listen to? Do you listen to a lot of them yourself, or you just
I listen to Bill Simmons' podcast. I listen to Zach Lowe's podcast.
Both
I
of those,
listen.
100% of those. Just Jeff Van Gundy was just the
I really enjoyed that one a lot.
Yep.
I listen to with any DFS stuff. I'll listen to the DraftKings one that you guys do, and then outside of that, I listen to I guess Gary Vaynerchuk stuff because he has a lot of stuff he has on audio as well too.
Yep.
And then sometimes Tim Ferriss and James Altucher, and then Nate Duncan's basketball one too.
Yep. Tim Ferriss is that good? I've been kind of looking to mess with that. Joe Rogan's another one. Did you listen to the Rogan Experience or whatever?
I've listened to maybe one or two of those too.
Those are long. It's an investment. Like it's a pretty big investment to listen to some of those.
Yeah, I imagine it's how people feel when they see mine. They see mine, they say, "Oh, it's an investment," and then I think of the same. Like when I think about Joe Rogan's podcast, right? So I see it, I'm like, man, Plus, I don't always know the guys too, so I'm not like always super interested in the guest particularly. So I see the time, I'm like, But then I love watching the clips that are online of like the 10-minute clips, the 8-minute clips. I like really love watching those, and I start thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I really should have more 8-minute clips up there, 4-minute clips, because I love watching those myself, and I'm so like kind of when it comes to these long podcasts. So it's kind of funny how I don't use what I like technically. I don't like take my own approach to things.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's one of those things. It is long. I listen to them on the plane a decent bit. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts every night. And I love it, man. I think there's going to be even more cool stuff coming out. Like I'm trying to figure out stuff for like investing and like there's so many cool business ones. I met a guy at a Nuggets game. He has the largest real estate social network, and they have a huge podcast. It's like top 10 in business, and it just crushes for him. And I'm like, wow, this guy, he had an issue. He was an investor, right, who owned like 100, investment properties, and he wanted to talk to people about their experience dealing with tenants, investments, market volatility, whatever. And say, hey, man, there's not a network for this. I'll create it. And now he's just crushing. And it's cool to see that stuff. And I think people love it. Like if you can get like exactly what you're looking for in terms of content, like you can probably find a podcast that's like hitting that pretty hard,
Yeah, it's true. Do you ever see yourself doing something out of space outside of poker, or outside of rather DFS, and maybe get into something else you're interested in with business or entrepreneurship or investing or anything like that?
That's what I want to do. I want to figure out a way to like blend some sort of like sports investing podcast at some point. I'm really going to think about it. I almost did something before this year, but then I just got really busy. That's what I respect about you, man. It's a pretty big investment to do this. So yeah, obviously like short term, you're going to get way more downloads. You're going to get a lot more engagement for like, pick specific stuff, like where you're talking about a specific slate, like that's going to do well. People want they want to hear about that for the day. But I do think there's so much value, and I hope we can do more stuff in the space. And for me personally, I want to do stuff investing as well. That's kind of like what you're doing, and just more free flowing, and not specific to like talking about a game or like a DFS slate.
I mean, I basically just get to bring people that I'm either like friends with or people that I want to talk to on the podcast. So it's kind of like it's a pretty cool thing to just do. And now I bring a lot of people I'm friends with on podcasts. Technically, I don't know if people know that's what's happening, but yeah, I like that more. I like to just bring people on that I enjoy having conversations with. And it's sort of like, because it's very rare you get to have these 1 or 2 hour long conversations with people that and now you get to do it. And then a bunch of people watch.
Slow down, man. That's one thing. Have you noticed, like you said, you lose things. Like how bad is, like I didn't have ADHD at all growing up, and now I have it like massively. I'm not saying I need to like do anything about it, but it's been such an instant gratification world. There's so many things you can do with your time. There's so many distractions. Like I think especially if you come from someone who's played poker or DFS, where that is going to get amplified massively. Like how do you deal with that? Do you have any ADD now?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I got diagnosed when I was a kid, but I mean, now I think it's just when you do so many things, when you have so many options. So like, you can potentially watch a game, you can research stuff, you can set a lineup, do multiple podcasts, you can put stuff on social media, you can do with your business. So I think anytime you have like 6 or 7 or 8 options that all seem like pretty good options for you to do, I think it's just tough for me personally to narrow it down and be like, okay, I'm going to work on this and work on that, because none of it's like super duper important at the time, but it's all stuff that has potentially high long-term leverage. And then for me, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I struggle with that all the time. It's just figuring out, okay, what should I focus on now and what should I do now? Because yeah, it's definitely tough.
Yeah, no, and someone asked me the name of that podcast, and for some reason it's I'm drawing Bigger Pockets podcast.
Bigger Pockets?
Yeah, right now I think it's like 14th or something, but it's all about flipping real estate. Super interesting. Like that's something else that I'm looking to do, is like figure out the real estate game a little bit. Like, have you messed around at all with trading stocks?
Not really, no. I mean, I have a lot of friends that do it and talk up to me about it some, but just kind of something I feel like if I get into, I might get addicted to doing it and enjoy it too much. And seems very similar to poker in that you're kind of playing against it's like your own world. You're doing all this stuff solo. So I'm trying to do things that are not as solo right now with things.
Right. Yeah. No, I've messed around with it some. Have a relatively low percentage of my money in the market. You know, it's obviously burned me a little bit recently, but yeah, it's one of those things I think is really interesting. I want to learn more. Real estate's another one. You know, in the past, I've been able to reinvest everything into DFS, but now, you know, like we've kind of talked about, I'm trying to diversify a little bit. So yeah, what about like Bitcoin and like all that stuff? That's the other thing I'm really interested in. Do you have any opinions on that?
A little bit. I looked into Bitcoin a little bit, and I think I seem to have friends that are into all this stuff. So they always talk about this stuff. But for me, I guess I've always just been so poker. That's all I really focused on, and now I've been trying to diversify that slowly with the GTO club and sort of with content too. So I'm a little bit hesitant to just jump into a lot of different new things right away because I'm trying to get better at maybe 4 or 5 different things right now. So even something like Bitcoin or something like real estate and something like trading all seem very interesting, but trying to pace myself because you know, I'm so used to just that one poker, that one focus for this 10 years, and now it's like, well, I'm trying to do 3, 4, 5 things at one time.
Yeah, no, I think Bitcoin is one of those things that could just be like a passive thing. Like you can just make a small investment in it relative to your net worth and just kind of sit on it. That's kind of what I've done a little bit, but it's really interesting. It's really changing the space. Like you can do a lot of things. Actually, I failed on doing the bike. I'm going to lower this. So you got to get a standing desk. So I'm lowering the standing desk right now, Joey.
Okay.
You can stand, you know. Now I'm just standing here and it's down, you know. You'll see the bike here in a second, I guess. And then just get it out of the way. So that's what I do like during the day. I think you will benefit tremendously from a standing desk.
I'm gonna look into it. I'm tempted. I don't like sitting down. I'm tempted.
They say sitting's the new smoking, right? Would you ever smoke cigarettes at this point?
No.
Yeah. Sitting down all the time, like especially guys like us, you're playing poker or doing whatever, like it's easy to sit for a long period of time. I mean, you're doing these epic podcasts.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. Maybe my legs do hurt. Holy God, you're right. Jesus.
Just standing. Now I'm standing. I can do some calf raises. You know, work on. Yeah, it's good.
I'm gonna think about this standing thing, man.
You got to do it. Bill, what do you think Bill Perkins would say about that?
That's a great question. I'll ask him.
You should ask him.
I'm just gonna see what he says. If he tells me to get a standing desk, I might get a standing desk.
Yeah, that guy is the best. Like if anyone those are. I mean, all these are great, but I've learned so much from him, and I've recommended. Those podcasts or like whatever. Do you call these podcasts? What do you call these?
I just call them podcasts. Sure.
Yeah.
Simple enough. Poker Live podcast. Simple enough right there.
I've recommended those podcasts to so many of my friends who are like entrepreneurs, not even poker players at all. And they've all loved it, man. That's what's cool. That's what I need to figure out with investing. You can get the right people. Like it's just so cool. People want to hear that stuff and it's beneficial, you know, like you're providing value. So that's what in the content game, that's what I got to figure out how to grow in that arena. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it kind of takes when you get the right people on, but then you think about like a Perkins. I just had a guy, Dr. Ivan Joseph on. He gave a very popular TED talk, one of the most popular TED talks of all time about self-confidence. I had him on the podcast. Yeah. We messaged him and talking with him. I mean, man, I'm like, there's so much good stuff in there.
Yeah, I watched that, dude. I watched that 12-minute clip you said, and it's true. Confidence is huge.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed that my golf this year, I think it was affecting me. Like last year, I made excuses about the injury and like I got worse and like I lost my self-confidence. You know, it's a big thing. It is a skill. Like you have to really, you know, think that you can do it and expect high things and like always strive to be better and have that skill of like, I'm going to do well, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think if you can find guys like that to get on something, it makes it easier. It makes the content good because these guys are such smart people with so much wisdom out there.
Yeah, man. How old are you now? What are you, 30, 29?
31, kid. I'm 31, 32 in 2 months.
How do you look so young, bro? What are you doing?
I played poker online for I moved to San Diego when I was 23. I just played poker online for like 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I barely drank. I never really went out. I had a fucked up sleep schedule, but I just grinded. I played poker, went out in the sun, got a tan, dated girls, man. That's what I did for so many years, and that's it. It turns out if you don't drink, I think you stay young.
Yeah. And someone said the 7 drinks is easy. And like, we have this every single week. It's not like one week's easy, of course, but like I have this set up for like a long stretch of time. Like I have to stretch 5 times a day or 5 times a week, do cardio at least 5 times a week, lift 3 times a week, under 7 drinks, less than 3 bad meals, and go to physical therapy once a week. That's one of my props out there. I can even throw it out. Empire Maker. I did it with Empire Maker. You know Empire pretty well?
I like Empire Maker. Shout out to Empire Maker.
Shout out to Empire Maker. I love that.
Listen, man, I'm trying to stay away from Empire Maker. He's going to get me out of line. He'll get me in trouble. I was in New York City.
We have this together. Both of us have that same exact prop.
He's doing this too.
Versus me. That's the prop. So we only lose. And dude, I've lost the drinking twice already because of freaking, and it was social situations. Like the main reason I've lost the drinking is this stupid poker game. Like the first time I played it, and they're like, "Oh, we have these really nice bottles of wine. Like, please drink it with us." And it's like, what are you gonna do? Say no?
You're gonna drink it with them for sure.
Yeah, of course. So I got waxed with the drinking. So I'm actually down in this, but yeah, he's working on his squat game, and I think it's great, man. It's something that I'm really happy I'm doing.
Empire Maker's working on his squat game.
Yeah, he's working. He's improved 80 pounds already on his squat, dude.
Jesus, man. I mean, I know the kid's got work ethic, but he's also got the degeneracy in him too.
He's got some serious degeneracy in him. Who, I don't want to make you throw anyone under the bus, but give me some like, who are, because there's some pretty epic degeneracy stuff in DFS, but like in poker, and it doesn't even have to be like a bad thing, but like, who are some of our, or even buddies, like who else has like that degenerate like really high? And I don't mean to like throw anyone under the bus here, but
I mean, it's definitely, when I think about the degenerates that I know, it's definitely the Scandinavian guys. My buddy Adotson, my buddy Isildraun, those guys are some fucking massive degenerates, no doubt about it. I guess I don't want to say the guys that was just within Miami, kind of degenerates for sure. They but they're more on the company side of things in poker, not necessarily, but they're very fun. But I mean, the thing is, all my degen friends are extremely fun.
Yeah.
So in terms of degen, like going out, spending a ton of money on dinners, on clubs, on traveling, just yeah, I think a lot of PLO players are like that for sure. A lot of PLO guys are like that.
Embrace it, you know.
Right, and it's
like what? How much is this is one thing that's so skewed for me is just like the value of $1 when you think about it in relative to like gambling or DFS or whatever, poker. Like, and I hate that. Let me rephrase that. When you think about when you're investing at a high level, because I really think all this stuff is investing. When you're investing in these things and you're investing big amounts, and then you look at things like dinners or travel or whatever else, it can seem very skewed sometimes, and it can seem skewed both ways. You know, like
right.
How much does that happen with you? Do you think you have a good value of the dollar?
No, I mean, not really. No, unfortunately, I'm trying to, and I think, self-confidence, once again, I'm always confident that if I need to make some money, I can make money in all sorts of different ways, potentially. But I think with poker, I mean, obviously, when you make 5 figures in a day, it's very hard to go away from that sort of, because when the money sort of easy come, easy go, especially you're playing higher stakes, it's like a couple of big blinds. But now I'm not playing as much poker, so I'm trying to get away from that mindset. And it's certainly been challenging because I've been doing it for so long, and it was just like, it's tough. It's tough. It's it's pretty tough to deal with, actually, for me. Yeah, no, it's skewed things for sure for me a little bit. I'm trying to rein it in and be smart, and definitely looking at things from an investment. When you start like evaluating from like an ROI standpoint, and you're like, oh, that $600 meal is pretty bad ROI right there. Like, you start thinking about your daily spend and all that stuff. It's definitely something I want to get more GTO at, but. Yeah, I think it's hard, and that's like a lot of leaks for people. Like I've seen it with DFS, where someone goes on like a huge swing, maybe wins a couple $100,000. All of a sudden, they're sitting courtside and going to all these games, and doing fancy dinners, playing super high stakes, and like that can go away pretty quickly if you're not smart. So it's one of those things that I think goes underappreciated about the guys who like really grind and like stay there. Like they have to have some pretty good life habits in general. There's exceptions. Some people are just so talented that they can make some bad decisions and still be fine. But I think that's an interesting dynamic that's not really talked about, especially like for some of these top end poker players. Like I can't imagine if I was like grinding like 60 hours a week of poker or more, like live, like you have to be at your A+ or at least your A, even maybe A- game all the time. So you need to make sure you're peaking for that. And, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think I've done a pretty good job with it in DFS, but I definitely like working out this summer. I'm really hoping that next year even I can be like better mentally for football, Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough with you because every single day you're betting, and then you say investing, but you're still, and it is hard to not look at it as betting or potentially gambling, and you're gambling such high amount of money.
What is it, man? Like this is my biggest pet peeve. Like the stock market, that's deemed investing, and then all this stuff isn't. Like everything that you do in life has risk and reward, and like it's an investment in your future, right? So you're trading X amount of risk for Y reward, right? And sometimes it's a bad reward and sometimes it's good. And every decision in life comes down to that. And like, for whatever reason in our stupid legal system, we've defined certain things as betting and other things as investing. Some things are fine. Like it's all, I mean, there's long political rants about this stuff, but at the end of the day, like I do think it's investing. And I think I think it's important that, in poker, DFS, all this stuff, that people use the vernacular that's more professional, just so that it continues to get more publicly accepted. Because I think we're going to see legal sports betting, poker, DFS, like as soon as this older generation's out of Congress, like we're going to be in a great spot.
So I'm investing with my ace jack 7 double suited PLO hand. I'm gonna put an investment by making a raise. All right, you know what? Tell you what, Peter.
That's a positive ROI investment.
I'm going to make this a thing. Okay, give me some words. I will make these words. I'm telling you right now, I will make these words in poker.
You already have it now, but like, don't you think investment's like a better, like instead of just like using gambling all the time, like it gets a derogatory thing and people are like, oh, it's generate. Like, and it is like what most people think about is gambling. They're going to the casino. They're playing slot machines where you're literally investing $1 to get 75 cents back. And it's fucking worse gambling. Like, yeah, you can win, but it's like, it's just stupidity, you know? And then you have everything in between, you know? And all this other stuff that is skillful, you know, professional golfer, investing in the stock market, investing in currencies, trading energy, investing in DFS, sports betting, poker, whatever. All of that is an investment, you know?
All right, so
I just think it's important.
Next PLO video, I'm going to say, all right, Gus Hansen makes an investment here, raises it up. With,
it might look bad for you because like the vernacular is already established in poker. Like that's
I can change it. That's the thing, Peter. I can change the vernacular in poker. I turned Pot Limit Omaha into the great game of Pot Limit Omaha, and then I turned that into the great game of Pot Limit Omaha. Okay.
All right, I like it, man. Well, what do you think? Like, don't you think we need to like improve that a little bit? It's also intimidating too, and I realized this when I was talking to these guys. Like, I talk in a very, like my vernacular around DFS and the way I think about sports is pretty nerdy relative to like how other people talk about it.
True. Yes.
That can be really intimidating for like the casual fan. And I think the same thing happened in poker, right? Like beforehand, it's like, oh, look at Moneymaker, raising, calling, like he's bluffing, like it's easy stuff. Now people are talking about balancing your range.
Yeah,
and, like,
I agree with that completely.
Like, and it kind of turns off the casual fan.
I think that's what you say videos. You say, oh, making this Dino Doug's like, man, I got a dandy hand here. He's gonna bump it up a little bit with this. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good way to do it. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do with these videos, is trying to get away from that in-depth sort of all this like very fucking nerdy poker talk that people watch. And I'm trying to make it more of like a fun thing, more of a different words, different types of things. And I'm trying to go away from that because I agree. I think that that's just how it's gotten. And while that does appeal to certain players, I think in terms of a mass appeal, it probably doesn't, because you just don't understand what they're saying. So it's just like if you read like let's say you read like a Zach Lowe column or something like that. I think that appeals to a lot of the hardcore basketball fans. But if you're just like a regular it's going to be tough for you to understand what the fuck he's talking about in a lot of those things.
Yeah, dude, Zach Lowe, shout out to Zach. That guy is like my favorite. He's one of the most honest, just high integrity people, and he really, really knows basketball. And he's humble, but he's probably that's my favorite podcast. Every time a podcast comes out with Zach Lowe, I'm just ecstatic. Like it's just, I'm always excited to listen to it. I love his opinion, and yeah, I listened to all the Bill Simmons stuff. I've been listening to it forever, and that's really great too. But yeah, there's just something about like, I don't know, Zach's so good, man. I know I'm kind of diverting the conversation here from the point of it, but
I think it's an interesting point, because I was thinking this the other day, like, why have I been listening to Bill Simmons' podcast for 8 years, 10 years? Why?
His voice is just so good. His voice is like, it's perfect.
Yeah, like why do you enjoy listening to him and House, or him and Jack? Like you enjoy listening like him and House, like a guy named House who is like doesn't know much about sports.
You feel like you're their friend. That's why you feel like you're hanging out with them. You know, they've created something like when I hear Bill Simmons' voice, I like it, and it's not. I don't always recognize it, but it makes me happy. I'm relaxed. It's like, it's a good trigger, you know? And that's what he's done. Cause he got into the game early, created a huge empire. And now he's, you know, uber famous, being able to monetize in a ton of different ways.
Mhm.
And, you know, he's still like the same guy for the most part, I think. I mean, there's some things that have changed, I guess, but his voice and like all the work he's done in the past, it's paying dividends now because you're like, for me, I've listened to him for so long that it's comfortable. It makes me happy, you know, like I'm very habitual with my podcast. Aren't you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. And I was thinking about this like a couple days ago. Like, why is that? Why don't? Because I was looking for some other podcasts because no new episodes were out, and I'm like, man, I don't even have a desire to start
that
some new
happens to me all the time on the plane. I'm always like, when I run out of podcasts, I get so tilted.
Yeah, that's how I am too. Do you listen to Planet Money ever at all?
Yeah,
Oh,
a little
actually,
bit.
there's podcasts.
Give me a good one, bud.
I'm gonna give you one that you'll like. I started listening to a bunch of these episodes. It's How I Built It.
Yeah, no, that's supposed to be really good.
Like the one I listened to, the one with the Airbnb guy and with the AOL guy.
How I built this, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. It was NPR. I like that one a lot too.
Yeah, it's second in business right now. Like, yeah, I love that stuff, man. That's what the business game is so interesting. Like, it's fun to like grind it up in poker and like really grind it up in DFS or whatever you're going for. But like to grind the business, like startup, entrepreneur, content, whatever you're passionate with it in business, I think that's like the most fulfilling and most exciting, personally.
Oh, okay, so for me, I'm struggling with trying to figure out that, you know, because you go to poker and you're talking one way, you're acting one way, and now when you got a business, if you got a product, well, now you want to promote the product, but you know, obviously, we look at people who promote a lot of things. I feel like people tend to look at that as a negative way.
It's hard to be authentic, right? That's the hardest part. Like,
right.
Everyone uses the word tout, and everyone's skeptical, and they should be, right? Like, why is this guy trying to help me? You know, that's like always a question. And like for me now, it's very simple. Like, yes, the market was more inefficient in the past. Yes, my ROI was insane back in the day. Yes, am I still playing high stakes and doing well and having a positive ROI? Yes, it's been great. Like 2016 was the best year I've ever had in DFS. Am I optimistic that I'm going to be making a lot of money in 2018, 2019? Not really. I mean, maybe. Hopefully, we'll see. But it's inevitable that the market's going to get more efficient, right? So what can I do to still add a lot of value and be in a position to make money? Obviously, you know, like you can do good things. And like if you want to have sustainability with a business, you have to provide value. And I think people can pick up on that. So it is hard. Like, how much self-promotion do you do? How much touting should you do? I hate that word, but like that stuff is a challenge, you know, because you look at all these other people who are sleazy and you don't want to do that.
Right, exactly.
You want to maintain your authenticity, and it's really hard. And like I would be skeptical too about a lot of this stuff. So I get it.
I think you guys do a great job at that, though. I know Bales. I mean, just from
Bales is the best.
Yeah, he's great at it.
Dude, that guy, talk about work ethic. That guy, unreal. You see, I don't know. I can't say enough good things. Obviously, I'm biased. He's a business partner, one of my best friends. But like, the guy just crushes everything he touches, man. And you know what his best skill is? Guess what Bale's best skill is?
Writing.
It's
email.
writing.
You tell us about writing emails.
His email game is stronger than my DFS game by like 100x. Like, I'd put Bale's email game against like Phil Ivey's poker game.
Wow.
He is like so good, and that is so valuable these days. Because have you read any of this stuff at all?
I've read some of the stuff, but I haven't read
he writes like you're hanging out with him, but it's still like really smart, and it has all the right grammar. He uses like the right. It's amazing. Like he's got it nailed down, and it crushes the email game, dude. And that's super valuable. So there's so many things you can do, right? That add a ton of value, and like I don't know. There's always a grind for someone. Like find something you're good at and just crush it. You know.
Mumming says, I don't want to bring anyone into poker. I actively try to crush people as hard as possible so that they will be scared away. I think trying to get people into poker is super selfish. I can't say I disagree with that from one standpoint, but at the same time, I personally get a lot of joy out of poker itself, and I think that other people potentially could. Obviously, I know people are going to lose a lot of money at some points in time, but I think you can also get a lot of joy out of it too. Yeah,
that's a really interesting thing. Like obviously, I want to grow the DFS world, and like you're trying to grow the poker world. And yeah, a small percentage of people are profitable. A large percentage don't make money.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's still a lot of entertainment value, and that's what we have to look at as well. Like a lot of things that people are going to do with their time for entertainment costs a lot of money. So people really love this stuff, and if they can figure out a way to be even like competitive in it, where they're not getting totally crushed, I think it's a good thing. But I understand that mentality. You know, like a lot of the best players in anything are just going to keep their head down, try to beat everyone as hard as they can and crush it and make as much money as they can. And I have zero qualms with that. That's what you should be doing, right? In a lot of regards. But other people have to take the game of growing, like, taking a more long-term view. Because that short-term view, it's hard to be the best forever.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point, which is that people still are going to do all sorts of things with their money either way. And you can say whether it's poker, whether it's DFS, whether it's going to the bar, whether it's going to a strip club. I mean, there's always these things that people are going to want to do for entertainment, playing video games. So, I mean, I feel like poker or DFS, I think DFS is really fun too. I think DFS is probably more fun than playing poker, just because you get to watch the games. It makes you more engaged in sports. It's just like, yeah, I think DFS is really fun.
Going to a game is so expensive, too, like to go into an actual game. Yeah, and that's one thing that I think that's why the sports industry has invested so much in daily fantasy, because daily fantasy creates a tremendous amount of engagement, which is good. But yeah, that's a challenge, man. I certainly understand like the arguments. I've thought about this so much. Like I've always been worried about like, hey, am I being, disingenuous by, providing tools or like doing a podcast and then playing a ton of action? Like, what's the line there? And it's certainly tough. I mean, I don't know if there's 100% the right answer, but like, one thing I feel good about, like, honestly, is I think I have put a lot of time and energy and like in a genuine way, I've really tried to grow the industry. Yes. Have I tried to make as much money as I possibly can as an individual? Absolutely. But I still think that there's ways to do both. And I've definitely made mistakes too. I haven't lived perfect. There's a lot of things I wish I could go back and change, but I don't know. It's hard. Like, what's Doug thinking? Doug's still trying to crush poker, right? He's still playing high stakes, He's
not playing too much. I think he's just trying to put out great content, crush the content game. I mean, he looks at content as the same way he looks at high stakes. He's trying to get to the high stakes. He's trying to have as much success and do things as optimally and efficient as he can.
Yeah. Someone's asking about the rake in DFS. I know that's a hot topic in poker.
Hashtag more rake. Hashtag more rake. Yeah. Do you think
what is that? What is it? Well, explain that to me. You think more rake's better?
No, man. It's our big
I thought it was a huge joke, and I was like, maybe there's some reason that like, no, of course it's the worst.
Yeah. What's the rake situation like in DFS?
Oh, it's just skyrocketed. Like it's gone crazy.
Fuck.
I mean, it's gone absolutely crazy. And I'm not gonna like. So it's really weird in DFS, right? People are all complaining about how the rake has gone up, and I actually like to use the word fees. The fees have gone up in DFS on a percentage basis. Going back to
fee. I'm gonna put this one down too. Investing, positive ROI, fees. Okay.
Yeah, that's the term. That's the term that's good because rake is associated, has a negative connotation in public society, right? Fee is more standard. So the fees in DFS have
one. I just want to alter that, but one. Do you think work has a negative connotation?
I don't think so. I mean, that's the quality I admire the most, hard work, right? Like work,
I've been thinking about this. I think that when people say they work hard, it makes them, I've got to go to work. I think a lot of people use it as a negative connotation. I've been using effort instead of work.
I like that. I don't think I work. Like, I love what I do. That's the number one. Like, it was a blessing to figure out quickly, like, hey, it's such a cliche thing to say, but if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Like, so in that regard, work has a negative connotation. But like, I use the word hard work a lot. Like, I admire a hard worker,
Same.
But like I worked really hard to get better at my bench press or my pull-ups or whatever. But I understand what you're saying. Like, work can be negative.
Right. I've been thinking about work and grind. Because I've been doing a lot of research on self-talk with Dr. Ivan talked about in the podcast, and the negative connotation words like the can't and won't and wish and kind of stuff like that. I mean, wish is for some people, but then I started thinking about work and grind. And I think people's like, man, I'm going to go fucking grind now. Instead of saying like, man, I'm going to go grind is a positive thing. They say it in a negative sort of way. So, but go ahead. Let's go back to the rake. So the rake situation right now in DFS.
Yeah, it's going up, which is another reason I'm personally a little more bearish on playing. It's made it much tougher, but it's inevitable. Like, the one thing, like if you've been fortunate to be in the DFS industry for the whole time, initially it was mind blowing. Like, this is how the industry grew. Is like there used to be overlay all the time. So you would get tournaments that were literally paying out, where the field as a whole had like a 25% ROI. So if you're just average, you have a 25% ROI. So I was around during all that time, and like, it was incredible. I mean, it was just amazing how much, what positive ROI you could get. And I mean, it was free money. Now we had all the legal stuff in turmoil that, looks like it's really going in the right direction, but they're still spending a ton of money on lobbying and investing in that. And, the costs have been spread to the customers, and it's much harder to win. Like, you look at the average fee on these big tournaments. Like I'll just even pull it up right now. I mean, I have it in front of me. The average fee on these tournaments is like 15% on the high end ones, you know, and it used to be 10, and like the low stakes stuff used to be 6. Now it's 9.9. You know, like that's the nature of what's happening, and hopefully it'll flatten out. And you know, the one thing I'm slightly optimistic about with DFS in particular is that you know, we'll get through all these legal challenges. We'll have bills everywhere. We'll get more integrated with the leagues, and like DFS will. I think it's booming more again now after a lot of stuff, but it could really take off again. And if that's the case, then you know, if they have a really big customer base, it's sustainable for the companies to have much lower bigs, or lower fees. So I think it could go down again, and that's what I've heard. But yeah, it sucks right now. I mean,
I never known a site to lower the rake, Peter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, of course, like you hear that, but it's like, yeah, you're skeptical, you know?
Right. It's like the fourth and fifth tier sites might lower the rake, but the first.
That's interesting. You can play with 0 fees. There's games out there right now, 0 fees, and they don't do anything. All that matters in this stuff is liquidity. So they have the liquidity; they can charge what they want. You know.
Mm-hmm. Sucks for sure. I mean, that's like
could there, like, you know, the only thing I put a lot of effort into in high school, I was in DECA. Do you remember DECA? Do you know that? It's like a business. DECA.
A steroid?
No, it's not a steroid. It's a business competition thing. Like it was.
No,
really,
I've never heard of DECA, but I'd like to know more.
So we wrote like a business plan. You compete against other people. They had like fun events, and like it was really fun. Like a bunch of people at our school did it. Like, yeah, got to meet girls. It was just a great time in high school, right? So we wrote, my buddy and I, we got second in state for our business plan. We should have won. We had the best idea. We had an idea for a rake-free poker website, and we were going to make all of our money on the float. And basically the way making money on the float works is like how American Express used to make money on checks. People would give them cash and cash the checks later. And when interest rates are high enough, you can make free money just on having the sitting capital, right? So obviously it's kind of an interesting issue. Like we've seen like a ton of poker problems where, you know, it becomes like a Ponzi scheme where they don't have the money. But theoretically, if this was done above board and right, you could invest a certain amount of the money that was on the site, and you'd have it separated. You know, people would be able to pay attention to it. It'd be, you know, basically risk-free, you know, whatever. Like back at that time, interest rates were like 7-8%. And you can make like 2% on the liquidity on the site. I mean, you're starting to make real money. So our thought was, hey, we can offer no rake, and we have a business here. So I remember putting that together, and it's not viable business, especially in this interest rate environment, but it's interesting, you know?
That's certainly interesting.
But rake, go ahead.
I mean, that's like a great idea. I think someone says, is there any alternatives to rake? Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, the sites have to make money. You know, with DFS, there's going to be more opportunities with partnerships, and maybe they can monetize in some other ways. But yeah, I mean, that's the main driver of revenue. So just that's the way it works. But hopefully it'll normalize. I definitely am pessimistic about it. You know, I'm not trying to say like, oh, shill for DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, saying, oh, the rake's going to go down. But hopefully this is kind of the peak of where it's at. And they really kind of kept notching it up throughout football season, and it's kind of plateaued. And I hope it plateaus, because if it goes even higher, like a lot of these guys, they're going to lose all the professionals volume, and that would just cripple the sites.
Yeah, thinking about the rake more is that a lot of esports, they don't have rake. So you can go play these things and there is no rake. And if poker and DFS had no rake, there'd be more people winning. In theory, I believe that's true. I don't know if that might not be true, I guess, somehow. But I still think there'd be more people winning. And I think the games would be more popular if more people were winning at them. So I think it's interesting how rake can take away the popularity or the success of a game.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's tough. In poker, obviously, it's a huge problem. Like, It's gotten ridiculous, right? Like, what is like a top one? Like, let's say a top 1% poker player who's playing like mid stakes. Like, how much is that guy making a year right now?
You know, I'm not really sure what it's like for Nolan Hold'em or PLO guys. Honestly, I don't know, because the landscape's sort of really shifting, and I'm only really familiar with Pot Limit Omaha. And in terms of Pot Limit Omaha, if you're playing mid stakes and you're putting in a lot of volume, you can still make a bunch of money, man. You can definitely still make a few $100,000. You think about 100 buy-ins at 2-4, 40,000. I mean, yeah, you can definitely still make a couple $100,000. I think if you're good at poker and the mid stakes.
Yeah.
So it's with the rake. I mean, I just did a video today, the rake comparison between the American poker sites, And yeah, Ignition raised their rake. And I mean, it's like, I probably would have paid maybe $10,000 more in rake or more, 10 to 20,000 more personally in rake on Ignition with the new rake changes than I paid before.
See, Ignition, man, don't you have Bitcoins for that?
No, I didn't. I don't have Bitcoin now for Ignition. No.
Can't you? That's how you move money in and out of Ignition, right? Bitcoin.
Maybe.
Come on, bud. Come on. You're clear. That's how you do it, bro.
I had a lot of Bitcoin, but I took it all out of Bitcoin.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, I'm nervous, man. I got it's at a couple. It's like 600, 700, 800, something like that. I'm like, man, I don't know. It's gonna go down. What if it goes down to zero? I don't know, man. I'm not. Yeah. I'm a nit now, man. I'm old. I'm a nit.
You're a nit? What's your yeah? What is your wrist on? You think you are a nit? I mean, you played the great game of PLO. Like, how can you be a nit if you're a PLO player?
I think I haven't been. I'm nit now because I haven't been gambling that high, and I've been focusing way more on trying to be more optimal with my money and focus more on making money from business and from the things affiliated with podcasts and affiliated with the brand. So when you do that, you realize it's like much more of a hustle, whereas poker, it's just so much different for me. I don't know. I need to.
I like it. I like the you have great style, bud. You have unique style, and now you're doing the clothing stuff. You know who's crushed it with clothing? Barstool. Barstool really? Crushes the clothing sales.
Really?
That's a cool thing. Like it's interesting. We've actually had a lot of requests for these hats. But I don't know. These custom guys do it. I don't know. There's obviously not a ton of money in it for us at all, but it is interesting. Like if you can become a big media company, create a big brand, like monetizing clothing is really interesting. But
I think it's like a fun thing to do as well because people want to support. They want to like rock their favorite stuff. They listen to it. So when I think about clothing, I think about it just makes sense. And I sort of wish I'd done more of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why isn't Fantasy Labs doing more of that stuff?
Dude, we have it. All of our all the money is donated to Charity Water. So you can buy Fantasy Labs gear. But we're not doing it to make money. Down the road, if we could grow into something bigger, I'd definitely be interested in doing that. You definitely got a nice little shout out there in the chat from Nick. Optimal with your money. Spend a month in Miami getting weird. That seems GTO in a lot of ways, but in terms of your money, can't imagine you were making the best financial decisions.
Well, listen,
I was to be frugal in Miami when you're trying to impress girls, huh?
I was not, but luckily. Look, I don't want to say this on the podcast. I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but some things I do don't require spending much money. And sometimes you find some women that they got money too.
Wow. On that hustle, on that, see, it's always interesting, that dynamic. I know a couple guys, like, dude, I know this one kid, he's dating a Broncos cheerleader. He's making literally zero money and he's just living off her. And this, like, she's unbelievable, you know? Like, some people like, they always assume the girl is, hustling the guy. It can work both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't call it a hustle.
That's a bad term. But the relationship doesn't have to work in a traditional way, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you meet a woman who has some money, and she can take, it's not always like this one-way sort of thing. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. So. Someone's saying you're basically a gigolo. Same guy who called me out for the T-shirt.
Listen, I would have
he got me good there.
If all goes to fail, I got no problem, baby. I got no problem loading up on the rich girl.
That's why you're working so hard on the bod, huh? Working on the weights.
Hey, you know what? Rich girl grind. He's got one goal. You want to take care of him, man.
Of course, we might be somewhat close, bro.
I bench press right now, maybe, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I think you're ahead though.
I don't think so. I think you probably, if you got 205, like 10 or, I think you're probably a bit ahead of me right now.
Yeah, well, I hope Levitan doesn't watch us back. I got to keep some sort. We are competing soon, but trying to keep some mental edge. But I like it. I just wish, I do worry, like, trying to get stronger with bench is not, like, really the most healthy thing, And I really, like, my number one goal is health, What other physical prop stuff should we be doing? These guys ran the mile. Like, yeah, it's in the chat too. Let's get some good ideas here for fitness props.
Yeah, good idea for fitness props. Let me think. I mean, you got you can do the single workouts, of course. You can do something with the bike. You can do something with the Stairmaster up there on a certain speed. Who can last the longest? I mean, I think there's some fun things you could do.
Stairmaster, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, like the Stairmaster at a high intensity, because I like to do that. I like to do intervals on there, and that can be pretty tough.
Dude, I would have been the best at the stairs when I was like 18 to 23. Do you know about the concert venue Red Rocks?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much. Did you
look it up, dude? Look it up on YouTube. It's the greatest concert venue in the world, hands down. I will argue that to the death. It's the number one thing about Denver. Just look it up. Look at the images. Even pull up a video. I'll send you a video actually here. So I used to work there selling beer, and dude, that definitively was the greatest job I've ever had. I was selling beer on commission at Red Rocks Amphitheater when I was 18 years old. I was making 15% of what I sold, and I was making 10% or more in tips. And like some nights on like a widespread panic night or like fish, I would sell like $5,000 in booze. So I'd make like $1,500 as an 18-year-old kid. That's how I built my poker bankroll, was from selling beer. How outrageous is that?
What's your pitch? Were you like one of the bear? We got bear here. Ice cold Miller Lite. Oh, what's your thing? What's your pitch?
Who likes beer? I got cold beer here. Who likes beer? Something like that. I do the who likes beer stance, or the cold beer. You know, something along those lines. I haven't done it in so long. I'm a little embarrassed, you know. But I used to have a pretty good call, like who likes beer, and I'd have like a long thing. And it's an easy question. Who doesn't like beer? So
that should be a prop bet. Who could sell the most beer at a play? Who could sell the most?
I crushed the beer. I was better at beer vending than I am at DFS. I just smashed these fools. I had all sorts of. I learned early, like everyone's out in the stands before the game starts or before the concert starts. I just go to the freaking entrance, stand up there, bring a huge thing. Don't even have to move. I'm just selling beer like crazy. Other secret move, if you're trying to sell a lot of beer, stand at the bathrooms during intermission. Everyone goes out, unload, refill. I mean. Yeah, there's some pretty nice.
Pick up on these tips. Like, why wouldn't everyone be doing this? It seems pretty GTO. Is there like a card runners for selling beer?
Stupid, man. These vendors were donkeys. It was incredible. They did figure it out eventually. Like, but yeah, it's fun. I would like double and triple people in sales sometimes because you would just crush them if you got like the right entrance or like selling beer at the bathroom. I mean, you're just crushing. So.
There should be a card runners for beer. It sounds like selling beer, selling stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty capped though, man. I think selling beer at Red Rocks is like literally the best place to sell beer in the world. And I don't understand how we got paid that much. I'm always worried about that, but thank goodness I'm out of that game. And that's the thing too. Like imagine I rupture my Achilles and I'm a beer vendor. You're screwed.
Yeah, you'd be screwed. Yes, you would be screwed. Correct.
You literally couldn't do it, dude. I'm gonna send you this video.
And you mentioned like a business earlier about real estate. Yeah, the Airbnb seems like if you had some properties and you just rented them on Airbnb, that seems like how most people are probably crushing it pretty hard right now.
Let me pitch you. I don't know anything about real estate, but here's my plan. Okay. One thing I'm going to do. Pretty sure I'm going to buy a place in Kauai. So Hawaii has actually grown immensely, and I'm actually bearish on Florida. I know you love Miami. I love Miami too. You should probably go as much as you can over the next 10 years because they're having serious issues with water. Like they're trying to build new buildings and the foundations won't stay because they go underwater. So I don't want to get political, but if you're worried at all about like water levels rising, like Miami is significantly impacted. And like right now, there's no denying this. They're struggling to build foundations. So I know people in real estate, they're selling out of Florida, especially Miami. And I think Hawaii could actually be like a huge tropical place that people will end up going more and potentially spending like their winters there. You know, a lot of these are successful people from the East Coast buy, you know, winter homes in Florida. I could easily see that happening in Hawaii. So Kauai is the green island. It's the garden island. And it's a little smaller, hasn't grown as much as Maui. But I think you could do an Airbnb there easily because it's getting more and more popular. They have a ton of golf courses. There's just a bunch of stuff to do there. That's where they filmed Jurassic Park. And that's my plan, man. I want to either do that or the other play that everyone does here in Colorado is buys like a mountain home. I've thought about that as well, but the prices have just gone crazy. So trying to figure out like what's a really great Airbnb place that I'm bullish on for like the long term. You have any other good ideas? Why is my number one right now?
I would think that anywhere that, I mean, it seems like anywhere that just has a lot of traffic, a lot of people, because it seems like a lot of these places that are very nice are like, they do so well, especially once you have good reviews, you have good photos, you have a good everything, you have good description, you have good stuff in the house. It just seems like if you got a really nice place, it's just going to do really well. So
yeah, people are throwing out some other hustles here in the chat. I'm all about it. Like if you guys have some investments you think, say someone said, build it using shipping containers and keep your tax rate lower. I have no idea what to do that.
Where'd you even see that at?
It's from Patrick Knight. Maybe he's talking about the beer. I don't know. Patrick Knight is also talking about basketball. Yeah, I'd love to hear other people's opinions on that. I'm trying to figure out some smart ways to invest money, man.
Yeah, I haven't thought too much about it. I'm still trying to figure out a way to invest my own money in myself. So
that's the best way. That's the number one way to do it for sure. And I'm still obviously thinking about that, but
Yeah. Here, let's get a couple questions from the chat. I got a couple questions on Twitter earlier related to collusion. Joey, make sure to ask him how much harder DFS is now that sharing lineups and collusions is frowned upon. So what's this about?
Oh, that's been going on forever, and it still goes on. And like it's well known. I work with a guy named Birdwings. He's been around forever. One of the best players. Your poker buddies all work together. Tons of guys do, and that's just the nature of it. And like, there's communities now where everyone's talking. Collusion is really interesting. Like these two brothers, and obviously, you know, I'm sure you've heard all about them. I have so much respect for those guys. One of them actually just moved to Denver. So I get it. I understand the collusion aspect. It's hard, but like the only reason those guys are getting a lot of grief right now is because they're at the top of the game. They're the most successful. You know, it's really hard to stop. It's just like they're like people like that's part of the joy of it is working together and talking sports, and that's just the nature of it. You have lineup sellers all over the place. I mean, it's just that is one challenge that DFS faces is like how to continue to keep everything above board, make sure the games are as fair as possible. But in terms of like working together on like cash game lineups and stuff like that, it's such commonplace now. The tournaments is really, it's tough, like where people are potentially getting around the entry limits, working together on stuff, but really, really hard for the operators to police that. I know they're trying to do everything they can. I know they've made a lot of changes to protect the integrity of the game, but at the end of the day, it's a really hard challenge, and some of it's impossible to police. So I get it. I understand everyone's skeptical. I really do feel like DFS games are pretty fair, and just the nature of the business. You know, like everyone's like, oh, they're working together, they're cheating. It's like everyone's working together. Everyone's working on different sites or using different analytics together. It's just like that's the nature of it, you know.
Shout out to Papa Gate. Shout out to Chipotle Attic.
Dude, the amount of money they donated, those guys are amazing.
Those guys were killing it during the NFL.
Sahil has definitely been the king for a long time. Those guys might be right now at the top, but it's really close.
I saw my buddy Evan in the chat earlier asked about Real Touche. He said, how much heads up action do you think you get from name recognition alone?
You know, I've talked to other people about that. Like, I feel like during the football season, I get a lot more 5 and 10Ks than some of the other guys that I know. And maybe guys, people just want to take a shot at me. So I don't know. That's something that is a big thing for me is grinding the high stakes heads up. You know, in certain sports, it's tougher to get the games. There's only a couple of us that sit those games anyways. So yeah, I think I do all right in that regard. Definitely in football, I think I do well. And football is the one sport I have the most confidence in right now relative to like the other top pros.
Do any reg battles happen with you? Any regs playing you at all?
Dude, I try to deter that so fast. Like, yeah, not to like Asani, who started picking up some games. I'm like, dude, let's figure out a better solution here than paying $1,200 a night to the site. You know, it's a losing proposition. And not to be arrogant or anything, but like most of the time, like exclude me from the situation. Let's say like the two top pros play each other that night, or they play every night for a while. Like both of them are going to lose, you know? It has happened. Like Sahil took down Kandia for just a tremendous amount of money in like a 3-week stretch. You can run really well, and maybe Sahil did have a really nice edge there. But in general, the top pros aren't going to have a winning edge versus each other, because in DFS you have to win a huge percentage of the time to beat the other person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to avoid those at all costs. I think they're stupid, you know, especially during football season and the good times. There's a lot of action going around. So I know that differs from other people. It's like, to be the best, you got to beat the best. I totally get that. Like, I've been there. Like, trust me, I'm hyper competitive too. But personally, I love staying out of the way. And I think a lot of the top pros, like, there's been years where other people have been at the top, and like, you know, there's a respect amongst people when you don't take each other's games, you know, for like a long stretch of time, because over the long run, it's just so costly, you know?
Mm-hmm. Got Max in the chat. What's up, puppy? Big Max Ernst in there. He says, thoughts on whether live finals are getting unreasonable as it relates to fees, and still planning to chase?
Yeah, I think, I mean, live finals is my favorite thing about DFS. I look at them as strictly entertainment at this point. You know, I won the $1 million. I'm not ashamed to say that, even though I've been in really good spots and made a lot of these live finals, like I've invested and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in live finals since then. And Yeah, just the nature of it. I mean, when we were in New York together, I was this close to, winning. I got a touchdown call back that would have won me 600,000 versus whatever I won 100. Like at stretches of time, I was looking like one of the favorites where it's like, a couple $1 million. All of a sudden, you have a great ROI on these things. But yeah, it's very tough. The fees are insane. Every time you're there, you're like, wow, this is a lavish, outrageous party. Like things are so great. Look at all the great free stuff we're getting. You're not getting it for free. You're paying for it in the fees over and over and over again. The rake is insane, or the fees are insane. They charge you for the experience. That being said, I'm going to continue to do it because it's the best thing about DFS. The live finals are so fun. It's once in a lifetime experience, and if you're fortunate to get back and have a chance to win, I mean, there's no better experience. So I look at that as an entertainment cost to me. I hope in some situations in certain sports I have a positive ROI, but some of them I completely understand. I'm donating, but it's such a good experience. I'm okay with it.
GTO answer there, kid. You said that before, haven't you?
No, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But that's how I honestly feel. It's the most fun I've ever had. I mean, you've been to them. They're so fun.
They're very fun. Correct.
Yeah. So it's I don't
know, kid. Last time, man, last time you were just you were sitting in the back room. You were kind of on the couch there. You were sweating all that action. You weren't really like getting after it, though. You weren't like getting after it, though.
Peak money-making time, buddy. That is the middle of December. You saw I was getting 10Ks in NBA, NFL. Like I was getting
a lot of action. A lot of action was going on there, kid.
That day I had mid six figures in action. I mean, you can't be screwing around. I mean, I'm not wealthy enough to be like, oh yeah, I got $500,000 invested. I can just go get a bunch of drinks over there. You got to be paying attention. The Wi-Fi in there was painful too, man. That was
believe me, we know the Wi-Fi there was painful. But
the Wi-Fi was brutal, bro. That was pretty negative EV to be in that spot, given the dynamics of what was unfolding that day.
Yeah, you really had a lot of action going on there.
Yeah, I didn't optimize all my late swaps for sure. Like, yeah, I left equity on the table. I mean, I had a great day. I was fortunate that it was good, but it is what it is.
It was fun. I like that back of the room there, man. It was fun there.
Yeah, no, we had a good time, man. We had that dinner was really good times. Shout out to Pop B right here for making my wife happy too. Remember, my wife was pissed.
Yeah, why was she mad? Why was she pissed for?
Mad because I didn't pay attention to her. She was like, because I invited her to New York. I'm busy all that time, so like, I need to. I treat my wife really well in a lot of regards, and she understands that like this is the time to like really go after like building a career and setting our family up for the future. And she's 100% supportive, but she's an only child. She wants attention. She's a woman, right? Mm-hmm. And I may or may not have been rude one time when she asked me a question. Like I wasn't trying to be. I'm just like, babe, I'm focused. Like I gotta, So she was pissed at that. And then my buddy Steve, one of my best friends, and her got in a little bit of a tiff over a restaurant we went to that didn't work out. She's a big planner. He's like a go with the flow kind of guy. And then we got there, so she was pissed. And then Poppy just calms her down. We get her the wine, and everything's good.
Wait, what did I say? What did I do?
And no, and Asani, I think Asani might have talked to her the most. I think Asani actually talked to her the most. So taking that back, shout out to Asani. I think he talked to her the most, but he calmed her down. That was a great night.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a really fun dinner. Yeah, it was.
That's
Sal's sister showed up. Shout out to Sahil's sister, a very legendary sister of the DFS world. Is she a legendary DFS sister yet?
Oh man, yeah. So there's some bad. Yeah, she's a legendary sister. There's some bad stories. Not. She's great, but there's the sleazeballs have tried to leverage the sister versus Sahil. That's all.
Oh, I heard about that. Something in like
real messed up, man. Real messed up. That's a big no-no. So that's the problem, man. Like I don't know how much there is in poker, but like in DFS now, there's some real sleazy people. And I guess that's just the nature of it. Like, in every industry, there's going to be sleazy people, and like specifically in something like this, like there's always going to be short-sighted guys who are willing to do whatever for their own benefit. But leveraging a sister or trying to blackmail someone with a sister, that's like pretty bad in my opinion.
Man, who is the person is this public person? I think I know the person, but
it's a public person. I'm not going to throw shade, man. That's not who I am.
Okay. I won't say I won't get into
I don't go bang bang. I'm like, I'm not going to be. I'll if I have a chance, I'll have a direct conversation next time.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a fun as like a fun group of guys, because how often do you get like that group like together in one place? You know what I mean? It's like a fun. It's a very fun experience out in New York. I love New York, by the way, too. That's one of my favorite cities now. Miami's my first favorite, though. New York's pretty up there.
Miami's good, man. You got my advice to you is go to Miami like 3 times a year now before it gets bad.
Before the water rises and
I mean, it's gonna be
falls away.
No, it'll be there, but they're gonna start having like problems. Like it's not gonna be like, oh, Miami's underwater. It's just like the problems are gonna escalate, you know. So Miami's perfect right now. I mean, you can look into this, and I don't know the time frame too. I'm speculating a lot. No one definitively knows, but I do know right now they're having issues with foundations for building new buildings.
Well, I know they're building a lot of buildings because the cranes there were
nuts.
We're all over.
They are all over. But promise you, they're having some issues, and they'll still get this stuff up. Don't get me wrong, and it's a great city. I'm very confident in the next 10 years Miami's going to be amazing. Am I confident in like 20, 30 years that Miami's going to be the city it is now? Not as much.
Max is saying, what happened to the Times Square videos that we shot? So me and Max recorded a bunch of stuff in Times Square. It's on my camera, and it was a fun experience. It was freezing outside, but we did get some stuff recorded talking to random people there. So, and it's still on my camera, Max. It's definitely on the camera. Let me see what else. Take a couple more questions on the chat, guys, and then I know we're gonna wrap it up soon because Peter's got some MLB stuff to take care of. Guy on Twitter, Samson, says it's easy to monitor and catch all these top players. All these top players, says it's hard as bullshit. Have MPHST on 18 on to explain. Listen, I told MPHST 18 a long time ago. Come on the podcast anytime you'd like. All he's got to do is hit me up, get in touch with me. I know he's out there. So all you got to do is hit me up and say, hey, we'll come on. We'll talk about some crazy, whatever he's got to say, man. We'll talk about. So
what's he saying? That's super easy to make money?
It's easy to catch the top players that are potentially colluding and making lineups, working together, stuff like that.
Oh, he's complaining, saying they're colluding and like all that jazz.
Yeah, I think he's saying it's not hard for the sites to police. It's easy for the sites to police.
I think that guy might be relatively naive, but sure. I mean, from a level 1 perspective, like, oh, I see X and Y, it has to mean this. Like, yeah, there's probably some validity to that, but to take action, it's a much more sophisticated problem than that person's thinking it is. Because trust me, I've thought a lot about this, and it's been an issue since 2011, 2012, and it was a much bigger issue then because the ecosystem was much smaller. There's always people, no matter what, and I'm sure you've seen this in poker as well. In DFS, people are always complaining about the most successful players, always, and it's always shifted. It was everyone hated Candia. For a stretch, people were upset with Birdwings and I. For a long stretch, people were upset with Candia. And he worked with a buddy who they're college roommates, and they got all sorts of grief and were accused of cheating. Then it was Sahil. Now it's the Chipotle brothers. Always the guys at the top end of the game. They're always getting crap from someone, some conspiracy, and it's BS, man. Like, I get that there could be some things that there might be some issues. I'm not trying to say every one of those people has played everything perfectly and not made mistakes. But at the end of the day, people are looking to blame others for their own failings more than they're taking accountability on their own. And that's just something that's always going to happen. People hate on successful people, and it's just haters are going to hate, man. It sucks.
All right, Reese Holtz on Twitter says, big fan, CSURAM. You said with joining your one today, you made your lines and your big win in 15 minutes. What do you set your diversity settings at when scripting?
That week, I didn't do much diversity settings. In golf, I think if you really have a lot of conviction, you can go with a pretty small player pool and just really go all in on some guys. And if they hit and you have some leverage, you're in a really good position. That's what happened that week when I had Hudson Swafford at 4% and 40% of my lineups, and he got whatever fourth. I had Luke List a ton of my lineups, and he finished right up there, and he was 7% owned. So I think you can take really strong stances in golf, and you don't need as much diversity. But if you have if your risk tolerance is a little different, where you don't want to just get crushed, because if you do that strategy, you can certainly have negative 100% ROI and really skewed bad results. If you want to smooth out your variance, you go with a bigger player pool and more diversity.
So now I shouldn't go Tiger Woods 100%.
No, not unless something changes, man. I don't think Tiger wins another major at this point, and it pains me to say that because I used to argue with my dad that he's the greatest golfer forever. And I still argue that he is. I'm going to Tiger. I still think that his peak, he was a dominant golfer for 10 years. He's the best golfer in the world, the most dominant golf that's ever been played. my opinion, he's the best golfer ever. Best career ever, though, is still Jack Nicklaus.
So you think if he kept sleeping with all those women, his career still be doing well, or you think it's just injuries and a combination of that?
Yeah, and I mean, a tremendous amount of hubris, injuries, a lifestyle that wasn't sustainable. Yeah, and that stuff's going to catch up with you at some point. I mean,
what a legend he is, though, man. Come on.
I'm the biggest fan of Tiger, and I respect him so much now. Like, people are hating on him now. I respect that he's a family man now, and he's giving back in a lot of regards, and he's still going to be a great ambassador. He gives back in a ton of things. So I really respect, and Tiger Woods, in my mind, is the greatest golfer to ever live. So I'm not trying to say anything. It's very easy to not very easy. How do I phrase it? He was at the top of the world. He literally was probably one of the most powerful, most sought after people in the entire universe. Like, he thought he was, not he didn't think, but he was the man. Like, people love to hang out with the best golfers. All the richest, most powerful people wanted to be around him. He was the first billionaire athlete. Every brand wanted to tie themselves to him. He was going out and crushing everyone in an individual sport. He was probably the second most famous athlete in the world. I mean, he was on such a high and had done so well for so long. Like, of course, there's going to be a big fall at some point. That's just the nature of life. So I admire and respect Tiger a ton still, but it's not that surprising that there's some fall from greatness.
Maybe he needs to get rid of the whole family thing, man. I don't know.
I love the family thing, man. He's old now. That's the thing. He also put so much torque on his body. Like, if you watch back, he swung so freaking hard. He put so much torque on his body. He lifted with like Navy SEALs. Like, he did all this stuff. When you get to be, in your late 30s and 40 years old, like, stuff starts to break. And now he's competing against guys who are in their 20s and are, in their peak athleticism. So it's tough, man.
Yeah. I hope he makes a comeback. I hope he just has one big run at something.
Let me just say, so I'm going out to Tiger Jam. I got to play poker with Tiger Woods. I love the guy. I hope to see him again in May. Like, I'm the biggest Tiger fan. I have nothing but positive things to say in general. I think he's the greatest golfer, like I said, all that stuff. But it's very hard to stay at the top in anything. DFS, poker, golf, whatever. Falls happen,
Shout out to Tiger Woods, man.
Yeah, shout out to Tiger.
A couple more questions here. James says, James Grimaldi, a.k.a. Grimstar. What's up, puppy? What's the biggest pot you ever played in a live cash game?
I've been in some close to six-figure pots. Probably not the best person to be making decisions like that, but I guess it's the nature of it.
Winner or loser in these pots, potentially?
He's been pretty mixed.
Mixed, balanced.
My outcomes in poker, I was a winning player for sure before I retired, and my new games of poker, I have not been as successful. I'm on the losing side, so gonna invest in my game and hopefully get better. But I'm on a relative basis. It's a small, very very small loss, and I'm excited to learn more, get better, hopefully keep investing money positively with a pot. You want to invest your money in poker with a positive ROI. You don't want to invest your money and have a negative ROI. Yes, sir.
Right? You don't want to be paying those high fees to other players.
Man, Joey, you talk to Doug. We're gonna change the vernacular across the board, bud.
Well, all I gotta do is tell Doug these words. He might start picking them up, and then that's it. Before you know it, they're changed.
All right, yeah. No, he can change it, man. And so can you, bud. The great game of PLO. What give me that? What is it? What, you have like a little intro now with it?
The great game of Pot Limit Omaha.
Okay, love it.
Strong. Or you say, instead of saying Pot Limit Omaha, you go Pot Limit Omaha. Yeah, something like that too.
Yeah, you gotta get to Colorado, man. One other last off-topic thing, but I don't know. It seems like you like to party a little bit. You can have a good time out here in Colorado.
Everybody I know is literally the people I know the best in Colorado are all married men.
Well, that doesn't mean we're not gonna have a good time. Check out that Red Rocks, bro. It's the most spiritual place. People have had their best life experiences ever there. Maybe bring a nice lady to have some great spiritual experience, bud.
Blufftown said Doug's a Ty Lopez of poker. Stop it. You know who Ty Lopez is?
No.
All right. It's probably the best. You don't need to know who he is. Don't worry. It's just you don't need to know much about him. So that's it.
Oh, is he like the scam or whatever or something?
I listen. I don't know what he does.
I know exactly who that is now. I don't know. I didn't know who that is, but I've seen a bazillion Facebook. That guy is hammering the Facebook media
Oh yeah,
content.
he's been all over the YouTube ads and Facebook ads for sure.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
you got Instagram, kid? What's your social? Give people a social.
Dude,
Can they follow you?
we need to talk, man. I'm only on Twitter and Facebook. I need to no Snapchat, no Instagram, and I know Instagram's where it's at. I need to really think about how I'm going to attack that. So
Yeah, I just joined Instagram.
how you doing? How you doing on it?
Let's see. We're at 2,240. It's like pretty.
What do you think about it, just in general?
Well, I don't actually follow many people on there, so I don't use it except just to post my own stuff. But I think that it's probably, I feel like the biggest idiot for not doing it for years. And I think that
that's how I feel.
Yeah, if I wouldn't have been doing it for 3 years, it would be like a huge resource for branding, because it just, all you do is just put photos on there, and I mean, you don't really do much else.
I wish I had done that, because then I could have just taken, what I would have done is just taken pictures at live finals. So I always feel like a douche taking too many, but I could have just posted them on Instagram, and then I'd have those memories forever, and probably would have been a decent follow, just like keeping track of like all the cool things that are at these DFS live finals. So that's a big regret. You know, the biggest regret by far is freaking at CSURAM88. I made that poker name in like 10 seconds on Full Tilt when I got into CSU, and I was just like trying to get some CSURAM thing, and it worked with 88, and now that's followed me around forever. So that's regret number one. Close second though, no Instagram.
Yeah, from being like, when we were out in Miami, we're at the club and we're talking to a lot of people, and people put like businesses, brands, people you meet, everyone. I mean, maybe it's just down there, but they put so much stock into this Instagram stuff, and whether they want to work with you or whether they want to like take what you're saying seriously, or whether all these types of things. It's so wild. I had no idea about this either.
You think it has more stock than Twitter, right?
100%.
Yeah, that's good. The only thing is in DFS, like everyone's on Twitter. Like it's like a very, it's all correlated with Twitter. Like it's not Instagram at all. But yeah, I think Instagram is definitely the platform you want to be in on. But
sounds like there's an inefficiency in the DFS space on Twitter then, if everyone's on, I'm sorry, on Instagram, if everyone's on Twitter.
Man, dude, I know. It's all screenshots on freaking on Instagram. So
yeah, well, if anyone can do it, kid, it'd be you. I mean, you travel a lot. You're out there getting around the world, man.
But my fun times are all I've had, like with the best times. I didn't capture that many of them. Maybe I can retroactively go and post some stuff. But
that's what I've been doing for the Throwback Thursdays. Now I'm just gonna post 2 to 3 of like all the crazy shit I've done in the past on Thursdays, and that's sort of like my way to show off that other content, I guess, in the back.
I like it, buddy. I like it. All right. Well, we'll chat about that more. I got to pick your brain on some of this content stuff. Even the video editing, you're good at that. So we'll have to chat more. That's definitely a good place to invest some time.
Yeah, Tim S says Jonies get back on the drugs. Believe me, if I get back on the drugs, the social media stuff's going up. That's for sure, because I get out of line as a motherfucker. But that's probably not going to happen. I'm old. I'm retired now, and
oh, you're not retired. You're still single, and you're on the streets. You're getting out of line.
You're right. I'm definitely not retired, but you know, whatever it is, what it is.
You're getting out of line, buddy. Come on.
Anything else you want to add here, kid? I'll let you get going here. Get your
no. Dude, I appreciate coming on. I've watched this forever. It's like my favorite podcast. Perkins. You know, there's so many good ones. I don't want to start naming all the individual people because I'll feel bad if I leave someone out. But number one, Perkins, and everything else has been awesome. These are people I've admired, and I think you've done something really cool. So happy to be a part of it, and yeah, hope everyone crushes DFS, poker, whatever grind they're on. I hope they freaking crush it. So, and definitely hit me up on Twitter if you have any business ideas you love. Like, I'm all about that. Investments, businesses, I want to hear about them. So hit me up on Twitter, freaking at CSURAM88. Stupidest Twitter handle ever, but it is what it is.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I probably should have had you on a long time earlier than this, but
no, dude, I'm stoked, man. This is awesome.
I appreciate it though. You're my first DFS guy I've had on in since like, I don't know, a while now. So I had to get you on. I was the other day, I'm like, man, I need to get Peter on the fucking podcast by now, man. I should have had him on a long time ago. So
I appreciate it, bro. It's fun times.
So, guys in the chat, appreciate all the comments, all the questions. Check out Peter, CSURAM88. You got an investment idea, send it his way. He's ready to give you some fucking money if you got a good idea. And that's it. That's all we got. I'll be back next Monday with a member of my GTO club. His name's On Gun, aka Wayne DeBang on PokerStars. One of the most smartest, most full of wisdom, nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Everybody that's going to watch this podcast with him is going to fucking love him. Next Monday, I'll be back there. I got PLO content coming out. That's all I got. That's it, man. Much love. Peter, take care, buddy.
Thanks.
Talk with you soon, man.
Yes, sir.